What's up, guys? And we are live. Today we have the founder of the 21 Convention, Anthony Johnson. And this is someone who I was personally connected to about a month ago. I honestly did not know much about the 21 Convention, but basically what I've learned is like the TED Talks for men. And initially I was even, I'll be honest, a little bit dismissive because some of the speakers that have been on there, I just think that I disagree with what they say. But then when I've kind of connected with Anthony, what I've learned is the way he runs the convention is very laissez-faire. So he has on people who have value to offer. He doesn't micromanage them, which is actually, I think, a good way to run a convention. So without further ado, thank you for coming on.
Hey, glad to be here, man. Thanks for having me on. And I'm excited to get to know you a little more and be on your channel. I appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. So let's start off, and I know everyone's excited to get to the roasting, but let's start off with the whole story. So how did you get into, how did you start the 21 Convention, basically?
Sure. It's a long story because now we're on our 15-year anniversary, but I'll try to compress it to the highlighted points. So 15-year anniversary, 2021. I started organizing the event back in 2006, late July of 6 on the Mystery Method forums back then. It was recently, at that time, Mystery Method. Then they had a split, Mystery and Savoy, the owner back then, became the Mystery Method forums, whatever. But that was like a main building block of the Manosphere at that point, that had sprung off of Fast Seduction. RSD, I think, didn't have their forums yet, or they were about to. But anyway, it was one of the main kind of watering holes of the Manosphere. And in particular, they had a young under 21 forum or section of the forum for young guys to post. I was 17 years old at the time, posting in there, trying to get advice, did this and that. I was very new to the Manosphere and the pickup community and approaching and stuff. But I had a record, I had a kind of reputation there because I was one of the few guys that would go out, make out with girls, do different stuff, which was very advanced for me back then because I'd sucked with girls growing up. And I used to take pictures and shit, back with these old snap cameras and stuff, and actually post those, which back in 2006 was like super taboo. There was no Instagram, obviously, none of the social media bullshit. And even in the pickup community, it was taboo to post your real face and identity. And I wasn't ashamed. I didn't really care. I wasn't, at that age, you're not thinking long-term anyway. But even with a little bit of long-term thinking, I was like, I don't care. I'm at a bar with these chicks, we're making out, doing different stuff. But compared to the average guy, that was like super advanced. Most guys can't even get a phone number back then. Back when getting a phone number was important.
I would say most guys still can't get a phone number.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. And now you have Snapchat and all this other bullshit. Back then it was like a phone number and maybe add her on Facebook or MySpace. Like that's so far back I go, man, way back. And to be clear, I found the pickup community at 17 years old in 2005, actually, before 2006. I found Fast Seduction. I found Ross Jeffries, his routines and stuff there and different articles on Fast Seduction. Then from that, I found the game and got more in the pickup community. But with regard to the convention, the main idea of the convention was not even a convention. It was supposed to be a meetup group, like you'd find on meetup.com kind of thing. It was just a meetup. I wanted to do a meetup for young men, other guys my age, because I was in the pickup artist layer back then, top layer for the Tampa, Orlando area, which is super solid. In my view and what I heard, it's like it was the best run layer in the country. It was not weird, relatively speaking, to layers back then. It was like super solid. Had a really good leader, this guy named Zuzu. It was fucking dope. We had all these speakers come in and stuff too, who back then were like super famous in the community. Anyway, I wanted to do, most of the guys in layer were much older. I was 17, so the average guy was probably like 35, maybe 40. There was guys that were much older than me. And we'd meet up and go out, but they were so much older than me, the disconnect was massive. These guys are from different generations, like they're boomers, Gen Xers. Like I was a 17-year-old kid trying to get better with chicks. So I decided to announce and put together, potentially, I put out the idea of an under 21 meetup. And guys on Mystery Method went nuts. They were like, holy shit. And people were super excited. They're like, yeah, let's do it. And very quickly, it was taken off, like hundreds of comments, like responses. And one guy was like, hey, why don't you get a hotel room and have some speakers if we're all going to meet up anyway? And I was like, yeah, it's a great idea. We'll have an under 21 convention. And it just kind of spiraled from there very, very organically. Yeah.
Okay, now the name makes sense, 21 Convention, because I have wondered why is it called the 21 Convention. Okay.
It was for young guys. It was supposed to be.
Okay. Yeah. And so then how did it go from that to what it is now?
Well, it almost got killed off. They locked the thread. It was so popular. It was like the #1 thread in the whole thing. And Mystery Method got really worried about it, both for like a competitor kind of thing. Like, this guy's going to do a convention. What the fuck? I wasn't associated with them. I didn't know those guys. So they actually locked it for a couple of days, the moderators and shit. And then they talked to me and all this. And finally, they decided to unlock it and let us do it. And thank God, because if they had closed down that thread, it would have fucked up everything. All the organic kind of traction and everything that was going on back then to get it off the ground. It was just going viral basically on its own, but they had put a pause on it and then let it go, thank God. So from that, I just kept putting it together. Basically, the big win was I invited a big speaker very quickly on the Venetian Arts Forum when that got going, which back then was another big forum. I invited a guy named Mihao, who back then was this kind of famous pickup artist. I was hanging out with Mystery and Matador and those guys who went out to do the TV show. And he himself even got on TV a couple times, which back then, skyrocketed your credibility in the pickup community. So anyway, I landed a big speaker named Mihao, and from that, I was able to get a lot of speakers in the community, especially from the layer and stuff, and kind of put together the first convention, which ended up going down 1 year later, July 2007. I was 18 years old. I had no idea how to do a convention. I had a little bit of history growing up, putting together camping events for friends and shit, but these were like very distantly related. I was like 20 friends. We'd get together, go camping on an island and shit. That was my experience with event management. And I fucking just put this thing together. I had the balls and tenacity to just try that and think that I could do it. And I did. We put together the event. We had about 80 guys show up, and I made $100 of profit for a full year's worth of work. So, and I had no backup money. If we didn't have enough, the hotel got cash payment. They knew what was going on. So I actually collected cash at the door because I didn't know how to use PayPal back then and all that. It was still really new at that point.
Mhm.
We'd collected cash at the door and barely made enough money to cover the audio, the hotel and stuff. And the video was volunteer work. Some guy in the pickup community volunteered to film it. He was like in film school at the time. And then we got the videos for free. Not for free. He filmed them for free. Thank God. I appreciate that. But I then had all these super high quality videos back then, which were better than honestly what was even available then for paid back then in the pickup community. And I decided to put them out free to the world because I was disgusted, like deeply disgusted with the pricing of products back then. DVD sets, audio sets, ebooks. Dude, I was in high school in the pickup community with a couple of my buddies, and we had to split the Mystery Method ebook. We actually bought it. We had to split it like, it was like $97 or some shit, which when you're a fucking kid is a lot of money, right?
Right.
And then, dude, the DVD sets back then from RSD were like $600 for the DVD set. Upgrade to the CD set as well, and for another $200, you get free shipping. Which, at 18 years old is just an insane amount of money in 2006. Like, you can't afford it, so you end up torrenting it, or you just don't have it, and you're fucked. So anyway, I was very upset about I just didn't like that. It was shit quality a lot of the time. I knew that some of these guys were legit. Some of them were just frauds, though, bullshitters. But overall, it was just kind of a clusterfuck of shit. And I was like, I have the opportunity now, due to kind of circumstance, to put out a super good product at high quality and for zero cost. So why not? So I did. And between the organic nature of the movement, the virability of that, and then also just the free videos, which are really good back then, like TED Talks kind of for young men, I put those out. Those went viral too. We had them on YouTube a little bit, but also a website called Venetian Skills hosted them for us before later we switched to YouTube eventually in full. Anyway, flash forward, that's 2007. As time went on, I began expanding the focus of the conference, which actually pissed off a lot of the pickup dudes who were like, I call it from Planet Puatron. They lived on Planet Pickup, like they're obsessed with pickup. And my focus is shifting more broadly. I was like, picking up girls and shit and being good with women, that's one element of being a man and part of life. I wanted to do more, though. I wanted to get medical doctors and personal trainers involved in the event and make it comprehensive. So I tried to do that. I started doing that in 2009 and especially 2010. I got a lot of pushback from it from the pickup guys because they viewed it basically as a vessel for a pickup artist conference. And I was like, that's the root, that's the foundation, but that's not what I'm going to limit it to. And if you don't like it, you can go fuck yourself.
Right.
And so that's kind of its early history. And it started growing and growing. Each year was bigger and better. The first year event was 2 days. The 2008 event, the second event was 3 days. The third event was 4 days. And finally, in 2010, it was the fourth time we did it. We did 2 events. We did one in America and we did one in Sweden. So I actually brought it then international to another country, to another continent. I even dropped out of college to do that back in 2010. I was in college at UCF in Orlando for 4 years at that point, and I failed How to Start a Business twice in a row. The only class I've ever failed in my life.
How ironic.
I know, and I was in the paper and shit at school. We had newspapers back then at UCF. And it was a big thing. I was in the paper repeatedly. They'd send like reporters out, these school reporters to the conference and stuff. I got on local TV in Orlando back then. So it was like a thing. And I was the only student in the class to actually have a business both semesters. And I failed twice in a row, ironically, working on the convention. So that pissed me off. And it was kind of like a signal. I'm not religious or anything, but I was like, this is just stupid. Like, I'm actually running a business for like 4 years now. I didn't intend to start a business. It was supposed to be like a hobby project, like a meetup group. But it evolved into a business because the people kept asking me for it. Like at the end of the events, these attendees would ask me, when's the next one? And even in 2007, when they asked me that for the first time, I was kind of like awestruck or dumbstruck, you'd call it, because I actually didn't even think about doing another one. It was supposed to be like a one-time event in 2007, and these dudes at the convention are like, hey, when's the next one? Very casually, like they're just expecting it. And I'm like 18 years old. I'm like, next summer, same time.
Yeah, that's pretty much the start of playing with fire, because I also started this just for fun. It was a passion thing. I had no desire to make money out of this. I was working a corporate job. I actually have a video coming out on this in a few days, the full story of playing with fire. But yeah, it's funny how things can grow. So what are the numbers like right now? Like what are how many attendees do you get? Like give us the breakdown what the 21 convention is like in 2020, 21.
So we've had like 20 events now, or 21 technically. So we've had a ton of events since 2007 when the first one kicked off. Planning began in 2006. We've had events on 3 continents, including we did one in Australia back in 2012. We did multiple events in Europe. We've done 4 events in Europe now, and multiple states too. So we've done events in Miami, events in Tampa, Orlando, Texas, and Austin, Australia, Poland, Sweden, England. We did 2 events in London. Our most recent European event was in Poland. That was Warsaw, Poland, the capital, back in 2019. And we were going to do another one last year, but then COVID hit and fucked like travel up and all that shit. So we do events now beyond just for young men, obviously. We still have that brand, but rarely do we bring back the under 21 convention. It's very hard to do events for young men because they just don't have any money. So you can't you just can't get, so it's hard to get like attendees together. Long term, I'll probably do more with that, but for now, we focus on 3 events. We have the main 21 convention, the OG event, classic for men. And that's for all men over 18, young, old, whatever religion you are, whatever race you are, it doesn't matter. It's for men to become the best man that you can be in your life by your own design and your own leadership, self-leadership, self-guidance. We have another event for fathers. It's called the 21 Convention Patriarch Edition. So we started an exclusive event for fathers that want to become the best fathers that they can. And it's actually about rebuilding the patriarchy in America because feminists hate it. And it's actually a very good, very positive thing. We even have an event for women now, too. We started the 22 convention to make women great again. That kicked off in the ticket page came out like December 30th, 2019, but basically kicked off beginning of 2020 last year. And that went super viral. That reached like 150 million people. It hit the New York Times, New York Post, Good Morning Britain with Piers Morgan. I did a huge 20-minute interview with him in front of like 1 million people. I hit all these TV shows, hit all these Sky News, like all this fucking shit.
I saw that. Yeah, some clever marketing on your part to make it like make women great again. So kind of building on the whole Trump thing. Yeah. A lot of people actually in the comments were wondering what your hat says. Some of them were speculating. Does it say "Make America Great Again"?
Oh, it says "Make women great again."
Make women great again, which I think is something that everyone can get behind.
Exactly. And we need it, man. It really is, it's funny and it's provocative and stuff, but it's real too. Women are fucked up today. They're the fattest they've ever been. They're the sluttiest they've ever been in American history. They're the fattest they've ever been in American history. And they're the most miserable they've ever been in American history. These are 3 facts your fans can look up instantly on Google or DuckDuckGo or whatever. They're fatter than they've ever been. They're the most promiscuous they've ever been. And the least happy they've ever been. Self-reporting, huge studies, which is just code. Womanese code for, of course, they're fucking miserable. And why wouldn't they be? They're fat and lonely, and they fuck a lot of dudes who abandon them, so they get their heart broken over and over again.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about that because on one hand, I don't like girls being fat, but on the other hand, I do like girls being very promiscuous. So it's like the pros and cons of modern living.
That's fine. I'm not responsible for what women do. Like I fuck women too. I'm not some hardcore Christian or something like that. I'm an atheist. I'm an objectivist. And I bang girls, but I know that when I'm banging some girl off Tinder or something, I'm like probably the 28th dude or the 40th dude she's fucked in her life. I'm not responsible for making her a slut, and I don't really care. I think it's bad for culture in general, but on an individual basis, I'm not Jesus. I'm not gonna stop a girl from riding my dick because she's a slut. She's already been a slut. She was a slut by guy number 10 or 15. The fact that I'm number like 35 is just irrelevant. She's a slut, and she's probably going to be a slut forever. And on an individual basis, that's not my problem. I didn't do it. I didn't tell you to do it. You do your thing. Yeah,
I think the one thing you and I guess me and most of the Red Pill community would disagree on, and I think it's probably one of the few things, is that in my belief, I think a girl's body count it's so irrelevant. Like in my opinion, like to me, I've been with girls who have low body counts. I've been with girls who have high body counts. Mm-hmm. I think that just has so little to do with who they are as people. Like it just has to do with like how much they like to fuck. What they perceive as, whether they think it's a big deal or not. I also will add that I think that a lot of guys overblow a woman's body count. Like they think it's higher than it really is. But then sometimes it is that high and sometimes it's not. But anyway, that's a whole different aside. So what I want to get into is how did you, so I know that for a while, Rollo Tomassi was actually a partner, right, in the 21 convention. So how did that come?
He was actually a business partner too in the Redman Group. Companies. So legally, me, him, and Rich Cooper were business partners and 1/3 owners of the Redman Group. which is another company we got going back in 2018. But sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead. So how did that come to be, and then how did that come to end?
Yeah, that's a whole fucking story, man. We'll get into
Yeah.
it. First and foremost, there's like a lot of videos on this that have been made. In particular, I'd recommend your audience, by me and others as well, that covered the whole situation. They can search on YouTube the Vichy mail, like the Vichy French. They can search the Vichy mail, parts 1 and part 2. And that was made by a YouTuber named DDJ at Miss Andrew Today. Those are really good. That's kind of an independent review of what actually occurred there. I have my own video, The Truth About Rollo Tomasi, people can look up. Hillary Clinton of the Manosphere, I called him. Like Hillary. Yeah, he's very womanly, very effeminate. So basically, I found him in 2016 from a speech I gave called Marrying Medusa. It's one on YouTube. I recently covered it in a video, Truth About Donovan Sharpe, I made. It's a viral speech. It's my biggest speech ever in terms of the actual presentation. It's about 2 hours long, so it's very long. And it's about this BPD chick I married, sort of married years ago, privately married. It's complicated. And
that's a whole thing of itself. I encourage people to watch your video on that. That was very interesting.
Thanks.
I took a look at that a few days ago.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. So I gave that speech, and one of the guys in the audience, it was actually at the Under 21 convention. That was the most recent time we did the young men's event. But guys of all ages were welcome. So it was focused on young guys, but then it was for like all guys.
Rollo was trying to pick up some young men.
No, not quite. He didn't speak till 2017. But anyway, I gave the speech, and there was a guy I didn't know in the audience, a new attendee. And he's like, "Hey man, I'm Nick. You should really check out this red pill community, and in particular this guy Rollo Tomasi. You're gonna really like his stuff, based on what I saw in your talk." And I didn't really know Rollo at that point. I found his blog in 2015 briefly, and put him on like a potential speaker list I look more into. But it was a long list of like 40 dudes. We're just kind of like browsing the Manosphere looking for speakers.
Mm-hmm.
So eventually, though, because it's attendee, he didn't just tell me that. He actually he's like, "Hey, I'm going to send you an email explaining why you need to look at this." I was like, "Okay." And he actually followed up and wrote me a really good email detailing what the red pill community was, links to read, articles, and then Rollo's book and blog in particular. And I read it, and I was actually really impressed. I was really genuinely interested in what I was seeing. It seemed like a more hardcore version of the pickup community, which had gotten increasingly like feminist over the years and kind of soft. Neil Strauss would be a great example of that. This is celebrated pickup artist. He's considered like one of the best in the world. And really, I think he's just kind of a beta nerd in real life. God bless him for writing the book and popularizing, the pickup community and learning how to get better with women, but in a systematic and intense kind of way. But I don't think Neil Strauss ever had any real game. He still doesn't. He got into that marriage a couple years ago. He was talking about he had sex addiction, all this stupid bullshit.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know who the fuck thinks he's the best pickup artist. I mean, I read the book The Game, and that was a big reason I got into the pickup community. I love that book, but that aside, like his big story in that book is about how there's this platinum blonde and he gets her phone number. Dear God, hold the phone. He got her phone number. Oh shit, boys. We got an MPUA in the house. He got her phone number. Like again.
Yeah, that's right. MPUA.
I love that book, but like
artist.
You can't look at that book as like anything more than entertainment.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a story, and it's an inspiring.
It's an interesting story. Yeah, it's inspiring. It's an interesting story, but it's a story. It's not like a guide. It's not a skill book. It's nothing like that.
And some of this may have been his own intention to, shift the public persona around him. Some of it maybe was just organic. People read the book, they're inspired by it. They kind of deify Neil Strauss into an MPUA, right? Mm-hmm. And he claims to be one and all that, but it's all nonsense. Like he's always had shitty game, I believe, and he never has had a good game, and he probably never will. He's kind of stuck in like permanent beta mode. And it is what it is, man. That's how he wants to live, do your thing. Just don't tell me you're a fucking master pickup artist. Like, get the fuck out of here with that shit.
Does he do that? Does he actually say that he's a master pickup artist?
Probably not anymore. He had like a fake burial. I don't know if you saw that. He had like a fake funeral for his style. Dude, you can Google it. Neil Strauss Styles funeral. Should pull it up. He had like a fucking burial, like a coffin, I think. Like, it was fucking weird, man. I mean, it's funny, kind of, but it's also really weird. And that was like burying his public persona, his style, or some shit. He's been through a lot of weird shit. And some of it's maybe just marketing, drama marketing, like a funeral. Like my old pickup artist name was Dream, and I still use it as like a kind of a pen name or like a middle name, Anthony Dream Johnson. My real name's Anthony Paul Johnson. But I've always been very clear about that. I don't have any animosity for the name Dream. I think it's cool. I picked it when I was young. There wasn't too much special about it. But long term, it's useful. It's antagonizing to the feminists and shit and the mainstream media. Because even with Piers Morgan, they have to call me Anthony Dream Johnson. They have to say this shit on TV, right? Because they don't even check if it's my real name or not. They just say it because that's what I'm known as. And then the feminists like, oh, what is this guy? The fucking dream guy? He thinks he's a dream for every girl. Like it's It's endlessly funny. It's so
I should
awesome.
do Alex Big Dick Valenchik. Just add that
Yeah.
so they have to announce that on TV. All right, we got Alex Big Dick Valenchik coming on.
Yep.
Oh, that doesn't sound right. But, it says the
Well,
notes.
as fate would have it, my last name is also Johnson, which is old school name for Dick, like you're Johnson.
Right,
So
right, yeah.
That's just coincidental, but it's just endless fucking trolling for the feminists that hate me.
Yeah, the trolling is quite fun. So getting back into it, so okay, so you learned about Rollo like that. So how did that go from that to you guys being partners for the 21 convention?
Well, yeah. So let's get into this. So I was actually a huge fan of his early on. Like and that's what was in the end very confusing for the fans who were kind of cross compatible, caught in between. Is my promotion of his work and my intensity of it, my promotion of it was real, at least for a while. It wasn't until meeting him several times. First time at 21 convention, and then soon after he came back to Orlando. He lives in Vegas. He lived in Orlando actually for a long time, but I didn't know him. He left in 2013, I think. So we never got to know him. Even when we were doing the convention, I didn't know about him. Anyway, he lived in Vegas, came to Orlando for 21 convention at our 10-year anniversary, 2017. That's what we called it anyway. It's complicated, but it is what it is. So when I met him, even friends of mine who met him were very alarmed by the real life Rollo. Nothing like super, super crazy, but like very different from how they imagined him. Very different. Like,
can you elaborate on that a little bit?
Yeah. So John Anthony, buddy of ours, we're just on the Redman group. J-Wolf. One of the guys he knows and he met in Orlando called Xavier. This guy is real game, right? He doesn't.
Yeah, I actually personally know Xavier. He does have a real game.
Yeah. He's one of my best friends. I love that guy, man. He was back.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, he's a good guy.
Yeah. And he's a good judge of character, just like street savage, street smart, good solid dude, and bangs hot chicks. I make fun of him for banging chubby Latinas, but he bangs hot girls too. Yeah. He bangs a whole buffet of women, like a lot of guys with super high notch counts.
Yeah, very true.
Anyway, he met Rollo, and he immediately had just got bad vibes from him. Bad vibes, like this is not, this guy's not alpha, and he's kind of fucking weird to be straight, to be honest about it. No social skills. And other guys too were alarmed by Rollo's behavior in real life. It wasn't enough though to be like, he's a massive fraud. It's like, I'm getting bad vibes and it's not making sense. Based on the way he writes and presents himself, this is like catastrophically different than the guy you perceive. I'm noticing this a little bit too, but it's like, fuck, like I really like this guy's work. He's a new speaker. He's brought a lot of attendees to the convention. He's helped me in a lot of ways. He's been very generous. So I thought at the time, so it appeared. So anyway, it was a very complicated early relationship. And I was getting these negative reviews though from guys I trusted, like Xavier and other speakers, a few. Even the director that we used for a long time, like 10 years, the film guy, he got to know all the speakers for me too. And he was like, man, I'm getting bad vibes. But then it's like, what do you do, right? Because Rollo hadn't done anything too alarming at that point. But he did start slipping up. And that's what helped me see through the facade that he presents to these guys. Because you probably have guys watching that are fans of Rollo, and they're huge fans of him or something, some of them anyway.
Oh, I'm sure.
He has kind of layers, like levels of fans. And some guys are just kind of generic, like I read his book and it was cool and they don't really care anymore. But some guys like hardcore Rollo. And like, I know those kind of guys. I know how they feel. And it's hard for them to see through the veil. They don't have the skill set to see through the bullshit. But anyway, what really got me going with Rollo is he started lying to me about small stuff. And when I catch someone, the first time he lied to me, it was like real small. It was about an airport thing, like leaving the convention. And I questioned him on it and he kind of got busted. You know, when someone lies to you and you question them on it, you call them on it, and they just kind of go quiet for a minute. Like this really awkward long minute. It was like that. And I'm like, this is not good. Like this guy's lying to me about shit that doesn't matter. And I had given the experience of my ex-wife, BPD, cluster B personality disorder, all this shit. It was just a red flag. And I'm like, I need to pay attention to this because people who lie about small things tend to lie about big things too. Yeah. It's basically a pyramid or compulsiveness. They're always lying, even when they don't need to. And it's like, the fuck you just lie to me for? Like, you didn't need to do that.
You're literally describing my ex-business partner, but that's a whole different story.
Yep.
That's funny that we have that in common. Both also met our ex-business partners right around the same time too, 2017 for me as well. But anyway, so let's keep going on this. So he started lying to you about small things. What happened after that?
Well, basically, we kind of had a fight behind the scenes in private. We almost split up back then, like late 2017. But then we kind of came back together, and I was like, man, if I boot this guy out now, let me put it this way to your fans. The fight I had with Rollo in 2019 could have happened in 2017. And if I had that fight too early, he would have crushed me. I did not have the relationship strength and equity and business acumen to deal with it. Even with Donovan now, this is a big fight now in the Manosphere, right? People are watching this go down. I have enough strength, though, equity and relationship power and lawyers and finances to deal with it. No matter what he does, I'm going to win that fight. He's doomed. People see that now, that his career is over. And that's his own fucking doing, right? He had to attack me and be this scumbag and lie to all these people and all this shit.
It also helps when you have the truth on your side.
Exactly. But that's not always enough, because if someone's
powerful
enough, if an opponent is powerful enough, they can just demolish you with other methods.
That is
Manipulation,
true.
lies, 48 laws of power shit. Rollo is not nearly as dumb. He's nowhere near the super intelligent genius that his hardcore fanboys, these little sycophants, think of him. But he's not like super dumb. Donovan's kind of dumb. So Donovan's a weaker enemy who's just dumber. Rollo is more intelligent and more crafty and more clever, like a woman, like a nasty woman, very manipulative, like a Wizard of Oz, like puppet master kind of thing. Donovan's more like a front man, like a dummy, like an underboss, you call him.
Yeah. All right, we'll definitely get into all that. But how can you tell the story? Because this was a big one. This is one of the first pieces of content I've seen from you. What happened with the reporter and the whole thing about doxing men? Because that was really fucked up. But can you kind of explain that to my viewers?
Sure. So in late 2018, we had the biggest convention we ever had. Physically, we had like 230 guys. It was pretty big. And these are 4-day conventions. They're not like a 1-day event. That was actually a 5-day convention, excuse me. We set up on Wednesday, not even counting that. We filmed the speeches and the conference all day, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. We had a special bonus day for the Redman group, the podcast we do, but in real life. Anyway, that was a big event. Rollo was there. And this reporter he had been talking to from the New York Times, she even interviewed him for testosterone articles or some shit. It's still available on the New York Times.
The skinniest guy in the world about testosterone, the guy that has probably close to no testosterone in his body.
It might have been sperm counts, or it was just some random topic that was barely related to what. But it was sperm or testosterone, and for whatever reason, she was interested in his book and something about it, and he commented and she put it on the article. You guys can still go find it. Nellie Bowles, and then one of her 2018 articles. Excuse me. Anyway, Rollo had been talking to her like all year. And I'd hear about this every once in a while, not think too much about it. I mean, interacting with the fake news media is dangerous, but I didn't think Rollo was like stupid. And I knew he was fucked up and dangerous and wanted to do harm to my company at that time, but it was dangerous for me to really do anything about it. I just kind of had to deal with it. I was like, all right, let me just roll with this and see where this goes. Maybe he'll make a huge mistake. Maybe he'll attack me and give me the opening to counterattack, kind of like Donovan did. Who knows, right? And he also got a new company going too. This is a big thing. So the Nellie Bowles thing you're talking about, we'll get to now. The doxing, he doxed like 50 guys, their location in real life, to the New York Times. A feminist reporter at the New York Times.
Crazy.
He threw them under the bus basically for a chance at causing a scene, at causing a viral news piece in the New York Times, because the fraud father, Rollo Tomassi, I call him, or Rollo Tomasso, he's obsessed with getting that kind of traction like Jordan Peterson has. He's extremely deeply envious of guys like Roosh, who's more famous than Rollo is and has had more media attention. Rollo is very insecure, and he's very into like attention, like a woman. Like an unhealthy, insecure, low self-esteem woman is the fraud father. That's why I call him Hillary Clinton, the Hillary Clinton of the Manosphere, because he's very womanly and also very manipulative, like Hillary Clinton, in my opinion. So basically, he set up this competing speaker group, this competing company with me, and then this other guy, Rich Cooper, in 2018. The long-term plan was to basically kill off 21 Convention, siphon out the speakers, and replace them into the Redman group. And causing a scene like with Nellie Bowles was, in my view and my understanding, part of that process. So back on the Nellie Bowles thing, to simplify this, it was the Nellie Bowles thing and the doxing of these men, these attendees that paid money to hear speakers like Rollo and myself and others. He basically threw them under the bus. He sold them out to this reporter. He told this chick that he was not supposed to tell where we were at this night. She was supposed to come to the convention on Monday after the bonus day was done, because she wanted to interview the speakers and she wanted to attend the convention. And I'm like, no. She almost bought a ticket. Rollo was texting me and emailing me. He's like, hey, can she just buy a ticket? I'm like, no, she can't buy a fucking ticket. This is 2018 to the convention. We don't allow women to attend, number one. Number two, she's a fucking reporter. She could roll up with a body cam. You know, who the fuck knows? I don't trust this woman. She's a feminist.
You're talking about for the 21 convention. For the 22 convention, obviously women can attend. Just to clarify. Okay.
Yeah, that's actually exclusively for women. Men can't attend the 22 convention. Yeah.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
We divide it. You know, it's very distinct how we do it. Anyway, right. Rollo wanted her to attend the convention and see what it was about. And I'm like, I talked to the speakers, number one. I'm like, this is just dangerous. We can't do this, right? Everyone's like, yeah, hell no, this is dangerous. And so he kept pestering me, like again and again and again and again, like pestering me. Just wouldn't shut the fuck up and calm down. I'm like, dude, no. And she almost bought a ticket. I actually shut the tickets off in 2018. I just closed them. We had like 2 seats left anyway. I was like, fuck it. I don't want this woman buying a ticket and having to deal with that shit. I don't want her getting the venue, none of it. Because we hide the venue from the public. We don't even announce where the events are at. to keep it private from the feminists and whoever would want to fuck with the event. Attendees only and speakers only, obviously. Anyway, what we ended up working out was kind of a middle ground. I was like, well, I don't really care about the speakers confronting with her. That's fine, because we can record the audio, for example, if they do an interview with her, so we can have a recording in case she tries to misquote us or fuck us on that. It's the attendees that have to be protected. The attendees are, salt of the earth guys. They're photographers, they're 9-to-5 guys, they're lawyers or doctors or surgeons or, cops, like whatever. I mean, the active military, like they can't be on the front page of the New York Times. We can't risk that.
No, of course not. Yeah, they're trusting you with their private information.
Yeah, and it's not Fort Knox, right? We're not fucking some super top secret organization, but there are basic boundaries and guidelines that I'm going to follow that are common sense. Right, and Rollo basically threw all that under the bus, because the plan was for her to come on Monday after the bonus day wrapped up so she could interview with the speakers when all the attendees were long gone, even the bonus day guys, which was smaller because it was set up like late, very much later in the game. So I was like, yeah, we'll safeguard the attendees. She can roll up. We'll interview. We'll film everything with our cameras, number one. And she can interview the speakers, and then she can produce a hit piece on us. Because, of course, her producing a hit piece on us is like 99% certain, right? There's almost no chance some feminist at the New York Times is going to come to a Manosphere convention and do a positive piece on it. You got to be fucking kidding me.
No chance. Yeah. This is like my Vice thing. Vice also reached out to me for an interview. And that turned out to be, they basically made it seem like Playing with Fire was doing revenge porn, which is like so not what we do. Like we're clearly, like, we do many things, but revenge porn is not one of them. But they try to like tie us into that basically, which was just really disingenuous.
Vice hit me up twice in 2020 for this Make Women Great Again conference. 2 different people there. And I told them both. Well, I tried to make them both buy tickets. Now we sell fake news tickets, fake news press passes to the fake news media. They got really mad and refused to buy it. But I did sell one to this UK paper, and they didn't even come. It's pretty funny.
Interesting. It's really a shame, because I actually think that Vice has some good articles, like about like shit in other countries and stuff. Like they have some good journalists out there. Like I don't know why they have to do like this like fucking weird hit pieces instead of just doing honest journalism, which they used to do back in the day. But anyway, that's a whole aside.
Anyway, the closing point is that we had after the conventions on Sunday night, when it's all done, we're all tired. It's been 4 days, conference speeches going crazy. Everyone's just exhausted. It's actually really exhausting to be at a conference for like 4 or 5 days straight, especially if you're working at it, but even as an attendee. So we have like a cigar night. We pick somebody's house to go to that we know. We'll invite like 100 guys there even. Socrates will have over 100 attendees at his house. And that's his own risk and responsibility, but I help him out and we get the attendees there. Right. This year, we had so many attendees. We're like, hey, let's just go downtown and we'll go to this cigar bar, but everybody keep it private, attendees and speakers only, right? And we'll just go there and do our thing. Rollo's fucking itching to get Nelly. And we're like, me and the speakers, we all got together. We're like, no. Number one, it's my call as the event organizer, whether or not that happens, dealing with the media. You're not the founder of the event. You're not the leader of it. Like, I have to take ultimate responsibility for this. Number two, all the speakers unanimously like, no, we'll meet with Nelly on Monday night, not Sunday night. That's crazy, because we don't want her walking up to the attendees with a fucking body cam or a cameraman, a photographer in public. What are we going to do? Am I going to grab this guy's camera and break it and get sued for or go to get arrested? Like, you can't do that. So anyway, Rollo basically on the way to the play, I actually saw him send the text. I was wondering who the fuck he's texting at like midnight. We're going to this bar, right? Almost midnight, like 11 o'clock, downtown Orlando. And he's texting somebody. I'm like, oh, whatever. He's just texting his wife or some shit. Who knows, right? I don't think much about it. But then Nelly fucking calls me. She has my phone number, right? We have been talking to a little bit. And I don't even answer because I'm like kind of drunk at this point. And I'm like, I'm exhausted. I'm like, I don't even want to deal with this. So I'm just let it ring, go to voicemail. I'm going to see her tomorrow, like we fucking planned, after the Monday day is over. Rollo's like, well, Rollo basically can't deal with not getting his way because he's a little brat, like a little fucking nasty chick. And he fucking told her where he's like, hey, come out, to the bar. Like, you're going to be, we're fine gentlemen or some shit. He says, there's actually the text, the screenshot we have of it. He invited her to the fucking bar and told her where we were fucking at against everybody's wishes. And he put all these attendees at risk. A speaker actually he knew Nelly from the New York Times. He was fucking inside the bar, but most of us are outside. So he sees her. He's like, holy shit, what is this bitch doing here? So he kind of grabs her, kind of games her, and escorts her outside to me to deal with it. I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I pull out my camera on my phone. I start live streaming into YouTube. I'm like, why are you here? Why are you here? We're supposed to meet tomorrow. Why are you here? She's like, oh, you guys can see the video. She's all like clamming up. She's like, I was invited here. I'm like, by who? By who? And she's like, I don't want to reveal my source. Like, here's the text. And Rollo's just sitting there. You can see him on the video like a little bitch. He's like fucking hiding. Like, it's absurd. It's so cringe. It is so fucking cringe. And this chick was honestly, she was calling me because she didn't want to get eggs thrown at her and shit. She's like, I thought you guys were going to fucking trick me and throw eggs or water balloons at me or something.
Oh,
She knows
Jesus Christ.
yeah, she doesn't know. It was sketchy because I told her, no, we're going to see you tomorrow, the leader of the event. And then Rollo's like, hey, come hang out. So she was actually trying to verify she wasn't getting scammed. And to be honest, I almost didn't even have her at the event at all. I almost sent her to a different hotel. I was just a troller. I was going to send her like out in the boonies out in Orlando. But I didn't do that. I was going to let her come on Monday when everybody was gone. Anyway, Rollos fucked it all up and decided to just throw us all under the bus and try to play dumb, try to play naive. Like, oh, I don't know who invited her. And he fucking did it. Now, that's a bad thing enough in itself. It's pretty bad. The issue is that he didn't own it. He could have owned up to it the next day, the next week, the next month. He fucking sat on this for 8 fucking months until we finally got it out of Nelly, one of the speakers, who the fuck it was, the source was. And it was fucking Rollo, which through our own investigation in private, we figured out pretty quickly anyway, but we couldn't prove it. So I had to fucking sit there and knowing this guy had done this for months and months and months. And he was too much of a pussy to own his mistake, to own his stupidity in doing this. Because that's who he is. He thought he could get away with it, and he couldn't.
So just to clarify, so people understand, because there's a lot to process here, that the consequences of this action. So it's not just him inviting a girl to hang out that guys don't want. It's the fact that this is a New York Times journalist, and a lot of the guys who are an audience, like they're not the speakers, they're an audience. They want to stay private, like they have jobs, and they could lose their jobs if they wind up they will lose their jobs. Yep. Is that he knew all that, and he invited her anyway, and there's a good chance that. If she was there and she interviewed some of these guys, they would have wound up on an article piece, like a really good chance. Because a lot of these journalists, they don't care. Like, they will dox you. Like, yeah. I've had that happen to me. I asked advice. I'm like, okay, I have no problem speaking to you guys, but can you please leave my last name out of it? Right? That was my only request. Nope, wouldn't do it. This is way before, I was a public figure or whatever. So at that point, I still entertained dreams of maybe ever going into the private sector again. Nope, after that, it was done. But anyway, that's cool for me. It all worked out. But for a lot of these guys who spend their whole lives working as doctors or working as accountants, that's it. That's the end of their career if they wind up on this, in this article. And Rollo knew all that, and he invited them there anyway for personal gain.
Hang on, yes, exactly. The potential of personal gain, not even definite personal gain, the potential of a fucking firestorm article where these dudes get doxed, and that would cause a big fucking scene. And that would get his book in the New York Times on the shit. But it's what you just said that's important. He knew this. He knows this as good or better than anyone. Rollo is not just some random blogger or some random author. He's fully invested, and he was fully invested in the Manosphere and the Red Pill and all this crap. He blogs about basically helping men, protecting men, educating men with the cold, harsh, bitter red pill truth, right? Truth, truth, truth. And not the truth in the message, not this other crap, right? And what did he do? He fucking lied. He lied and threw other men under the bus that he knew it was dangerous to do to them. He knew definitively. As a matter, he wasn't like, some Rollo isn't a manager at Best Buy, right? He's not some just random dude, some normie. He's Rollo Tomassi. He knew all this shit. He blogs about men getting doxxed. This is a guy who blogs about men getting doxxed, how dangerous it is to be a man today, and the Me Too movement, and all the crap, the cancel culture, right? And what does he do? He doxes over 50 fucking attendees we had there. The speakers, whatever. We were going to meet Nelly anyway. That's not the end of the world, right? It's the attendees and even the volunteers.
Hey, bro, sorry to cut you off, but a lot of people are saying the comments, the volume just got really low on your end.
Oh.
Yeah, and I kind of noticed it as well, but I thought it was just my headphones.
How is it now? Any better?
No, it happened in the last minute or two. Is the volume low for y'all? What about when I talk? Can you guys let me know in the comments if you can hear me or it's just Anthony? Let me know if you can hear me well when I talk right now. Let's see. Wait for the comments to come in. There's like a 5-second delay. Can hear Alex fine. Yeah, man. So it's on your end. I kind of noticed it as well. No, now I can't hear anything. All right, bear with us, guys. We're going to get this audio issue taken out, and then we're going to go back into spilling some truth. No, I can't hear anything now either. Still. No. No. Still can't hear anything. What the fuck is going on? Can't hear anything. Maybe try taking the headphones out and see if the computer mic picks it up. I don't hear anything. See what's happening. Go into your system settings. Let me check my phone. Hang on, guys. Just bear with us for a second. Okay, wait. I think I just heard something for 1 second, and it cut off. Don't hear anything. President, connect your headphones to the computer. Now it says to okay.
Check.
There we go. My man, you're back.
Yeah.
All right, guys, just give us a what was it? Just out of curiosity.
I actually don't know. I'm plugging it back in. I've never seen it do that before live.
It works now. People are saying that Rollo is in the audio system, just crawling around. So okay, guys, just give us a thumbs up if you can hear everything
Check.
now. But I think we should be good because I can hear it.
Is it loud enough too for them?
Oh yeah, we're live. Okay. Someone said Rollo and Donovan sent their lackeys to sabotage the stream. Okay, we're good. So let's just pick up when you started commenting on what I said, because I think that's when it cut out.
Yeah, let me get the headset back on too for a second in my ears.
Yep.
Dude, this is like the gayest fucking shit.
I'm laughing at that. Rollo and Donovan said they're lackeys.
I'll have the headset back in a second. So output device. Why is that not fucking working? I might just go without headset audio and just say fuck it, because this is being like very good.
Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah. I gotta give up. I'll just talk to you this way. Fuck it. All right, so where were we with Rollo and shit? I don't even remember this point. Sorry.
Yeah, so basically, I made the point that he basically, sabotaged this guy's for livelihood for potential personal gain, which I didn't know up until very recently, but it's really fucked up. So you were commenting on that.
It's interesting too how he responded to it. He never, and this is very laughable to people who study these things or deal with them in a legal setting. Let's say that he basically never denied it or owned it. He kind of played this evasive snake indefinitely and tried to paint me for months and months and months as this villain, this bad guy, which is bullshit. This guy had very real intent to do this to these men. He thought he could get away with it. He sat on it for all these months and 8 months until we caught him, and basically we confronted him in private. Then he went nuts and went public, attacking me and all this stuff. And that's part of what created this huge shitstorm in public, is I didn't want this fight to go public. I wanted to handle it privately where I thought it was best. And once we did that, he just went bananas in public and started accusing me of all this shit, and even the speakers, And then he was pushing chargebacks with attendees. He had this whole ring of dudes trying to fuck up the convention and destroy it. Rollo's actual plan was to basically turn the Redman group that I was part of at that time. He was trying to boot me out of it using Richard Cooper. Him and Cooper would take over it because they own most of it. They own 66% together against my vote. That would fuck me, steal the speakers into the Redman group, and create the Redman Summit. That was Rollo's actual goal, which then when I booted him out of the Redman group after buying Rich Cooper out, this happened also in early 2019 because Rich Cooper attacked me because of Rollo. There's all kinds of super sneaky shit. And someday maybe we'll get into this more in like evidence and detail and stuff. But that's the basic facts is Rollo used Cooper to attack me in public to try to, create this fucking war. I ended up countering and offering to buy Cooper out. Cooper's greedy as fuck, like super greedy for money. Once money was on the table, money talks, bullshit walks, Rollo got fucked. I ended up getting control of the Redman group and stopping his plans to create a competing event to kill 21. He then tried creating this Rule Zero Summit with the Rule Zero group and all the shit, but even that fell apart in 2020. So
I think that the Cooper being greedy part is evidenced by the 2,000 hour coaching calls. 2,000 an hour, get the fuck out of here with that shit. 2,000 an hour. The top-notch doctors in America who have 20 years of schooling don't charge 2,000 an hour, but him with what credentials is charging 2,000 an hour? That is just like absurd. It's just purely like ripping off people.
It used to be like 1,000, then it became like 1,500.
Oh, that's a good deal.
Yeah,
I'm gonna pay this guy who has those more credentials for 1,000 an hour. But anyway, so I want to keep this very on point. So that whole thing happened, and I'm gonna at this point interject my personal experience with Rollo. I've never met the guy. I have nothing against him personally. I have evaluated his book because a lot of guys treat his book like whatever, The Irrational Male, as some like Bible or something like that. I'm like, all right, well, I gotta check this out. Dude, it is subpar work at best. There's nothing amazing about this book at all. Like they treat there's some kind of genius inside there. There's nothing genius in this book. Some of the things he says, he's correct about. I agree. And I made a detailed video on this. Some of the things he says are dead wrong. Like he has a thing that says you should never discuss with a girl your lay count, because once a girl finds out how many girls you've been with, then that relationship is doomed. That's just bullshit and shows his lack of experience with women. Yeah. I'm not trying to brag, but I've been with a lot of women and I've discussed my lay count with a lot of women. It has never once jeopardized my relationship. It's just pure nonsense.
Let me say this about Rollo. Rollo claims in public to have a lay count of like, I think 44, something like that, 43. He's claimed this in public repeatedly on different podcasts. It's in the 40s basically, which is not that high, obviously. He doesn't think so, but yeah, it's pretty low. For someone who pretends to be a godfather, a self-declared godfather of the Manosphere and godfather of the red pill and all this bullshit, his lay count is probably not even that high. It's probably lower than that. It's probably in the 20s or something like that, I would think.
I mean, he's been married for like 20 years, right?
Over 20, yeah. Yeah, he hasn't been he's never had any games. So let me paint the larger picture. Rollo painted a picture of himself as immaculate manicured persona, like a public figure, like a politician. Right. I went over this in my Donovan video. Rollo is a lot like Donovan. It's this manicured public persona to sell bullshit, to sell the book essentially. And everything that these guys know about Rollo, this whole mythological figure almost in the Manosphere, he has his rock star 20s, and then he had this BPD chick, and that was a fucked up relationship. These things aren't all false, by the way. Some of these are based on truth, right? Then his brother-in-law killed himself when he got divorce raped. I believe that happened. I believe that scared Rollo and scarred him because his own relationship is actually very similar to what happened with his brother-in-law married to his wife's sister. He's detailed this in public and on his blog and stuff. But anyway, basically all the major points in his life, like Donovan Sharpe claims he was banging 10s and stuff in Vegas in his rock star 30s kind of, right? It's all bullshit. These are stories that they tell in public to manipulate guys and control them by using history that no one can verify. Like a chick, right? A chick who says doesn't want to fuck because she has a headache. What is that? That's a symptom that you can't prove or disprove that's completely within her control. Rollo's rockstar 20s is completely within his control. He has characterized that and dressed it up into this mountain of bullshit that these betas who suck with women, they soak it up. Like, oh, I didn't have my rockstar 20s, but Rollo did. And now he has the red pill and the red pill truth and the red pill message. And he's not in it for the money. And he's a nice, good guy trying to help men. It's all fucking scam. Donovan's the same way. I was in Vegas banging all these hoes, and these hoes ain't shit. And these 10s I was banging. And he didn't bang any chicks. He bangs fat women. He's been banging a fat woman.
Well, that's a whole thing we're going to get into. But the point I want to make is that there's nothing wrong with being married. I might even get married one day. What there is wrong is pretending like you're some massive pimp player when you've been married for 20 years. And when you're advocating, like one of his big messages, and correct me if I'm wrong because you know him better than me, is don't get married, don't get married, don't get married. But then he has been married for 20 years. So like that really doesn't add up to me, at least. So
let me share some of the audience that they don't know, which is why Rollo is so bitter. Rollo is generally anti-marriage, even though he's married, and people are confused by that, right? Now, he goes into his explanations of why, but it's all bullshit. So I asked Rollo once in 2017, when I was still getting to know him a little bit in person. I was just I didn't hate him yet. I didn't realize he was a fraud yet. I was at the very early stages, right? And we were driving around Orlando. We were going to see Milo Yiannopoulos speak. And there's actually a picture of where Rollo met Milo and all this stuff. And we were in the car. We're on the way to this speaking event with Roger Stone was there too. Trump's one of his buddies and shit. It was a cool event. Anyway, I just kind of popped off randomly. I was like, because Rollo knew I wanted to start a family someday. We had talked about this. I was like, hey, like, how did you plan, your first child? I know you have one kid. Like, how'd you guys plan that with your wife? How'd you plan that? And the answer he gave me was this word salad of bullshit. was just word. It was like when he got done speaking for like a minute, I'm like, you didn't say anything. Like I asked you an honest question and you gave me this word salad of nonsense. It was an honest, sincere, and a very simple question. Like, how did you plan that? The reality is that he didn't. That family he has is basically an accident. And if you dig through his blog post and his podcast where he talks about the timelines of how this went down, how he married her, he married that woman that he's married to in a year flat, 12 months almost to the T. And she moved in 6 months flat, all of which is counter to what he preaches too, by the way, of course, as a super rapid relationship. The reason that happened is because it was all an accident. And I think through religion or whatever kind of guilt he had, he got roped into this marriage that he didn't want to be in. And that's all part of why he's so envious of all these dudes that bang all these chicks. Rollo has always been a beta nerd, and that beta nerd was never going to be a player anyway. He's just a loser.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's super obvious, like when you watch him speak, that he is a keyboard jockey. Like that is what he is. And
he's the king gamma male keyboard jockey, and he's very negative, and he does have a hatred. Feminists will accuse him of hating women, and I think there's some truth to that, to be honest. And normally I would just tell feminists to eat shit and die, but in this case, they're actually onto something. But it's more important and it's more subtle, and it's more covert. The Rollo is a gamma male who hates masculinity and hates men. His fans don't understand this. He hides it very well. He conceals it by multiple layers of bullshit, a mountain of bullshit, and all these stories and mythological parts of his life. And this happened, and this big event happened, and then I took the red pill. And it's like, why were you on So Suave in the 2000s posting about the red pill in this supposedly happy marriage? No, bullshit. That's because Rollo's a loser, and he's always been a loser, and he'll always be a loser. Frauds are losers to the bone. That's why they're frauds. They're losers. They can't do this in real life. They can't apply these ideas of game and the red pill and the truth about women and earn experience, right? Like we talk about John Anthony, Jamov.
right.
You and both have worked your ass off banging chicks and approaching. I've done this too, to a limited extent, but not to the extent you guys have. And I'm not a dating coach either. I'm a conference organizer, a community organizer, like Obama.
Like Obama, yeah.
Humble community organizer.
Yeah, I mean, just to quickly sum up the Rollo thing. And again, I bear this guy no ill will. I've never met him. I don't really know anything about him. The things I have learned are pretty disturbing. But let's take all that aside.
Oh, it gets
skinny.
Worse,
I can imagine. Super skinny guy. No skill with women, as witnessed. If you watch him go on podcasts where there are women on, he does not know how to interact with women. Super obvious to anyone who knows any level of game. Some of the things he says are just dead wrong. Like, for example, his big thing is, when you have sex with a woman, you should be very weary because she might, take the cum out of the condom and use it to get herself pregnant. I'm like, sure, maybe like the really ghetto ratchet girls. None of the girls that I've ever hooked up with, maybe in my early days, would do shit like that. Like that is something only the most ratchet of girls would do. So like, I don't know what kind of girls he has experience with. Probably very little.
Or if you're super rich or something, maybe NBA stars and stuff.
Yes, that would be the one exception. Yes, if you are an NBA star, yeah, it could happen. And I think another one is just like keeps talking about, how important it is, you shouldn't get married, but he's been married for 20 years. So you see stuff like that and just makes you roll your eyes.
Let me add this to Rollo as well, not just in summary, but in addition, you mentioned his books and you weren't impressed with it. Some guys are, it is what it is. There's going to be difference of opinions on this. The quality of the writing, where the book even came from. His first book, for example, is really just a collection of blog posts, which is part of why it's so messy. There was no editing and all this shit. But what guys need to know, and I have evidence of this, hard evidence, because guys have reached out to me. A lot of where Rollo gets his content from is lifted, as he would call it, from other content creators in the Manosphere, especially small ones that people don't know about. We're talking about, a guy on RSD forum type thing, on a forum or the Red Pill subreddit community or whatever, that posted an article that was pretty good or got a lot of traction, say 7 years ago. Rollo was tracking this shit. He would save it and bookmark it. He would then kind of take that blog post about whatever issue, ovulatory shift cycles, hypergamy, whatever, blah, 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 whatever the specific subject was, didn't matter. He would take that and he would kind of rewrite it. It would either be obvious and he would kind of, give a little bit of credit to it or no credit. He would basically lift it, rewrite it, and convert it into a blog post. So now you have this thing from Reddit that some random dude who with no public persona, no public figure made, 8 years ago in fucking 2013. Rollo converts it from Reddit onto his blog, then from his blog into his book, then from his book onto Amazon. And then his book is promoted on YouTube. So you basically have this really complicated filtration system of shit that he's lifting from guys, giving little to no credit to, just enough sometimes to cover his ass. I stand on the shoulders of giants, like bullshit like this, right? It's like, really, which ones? Where did that chapter in your book come from? Because you didn't fucking write it half the time. Some of it he wrote on his own, a lot of it he didn't. And these dudes that are super hardcore loyal to him, they don't know this. They're not involved in the manosphere enough to understand it. Even me, you have to really track this shit down, or people reach out to me with like, I wrote this years ago. Rollo lifted it, turned it into a blog post here, and that ended up in the book. Rollo's very clever, like a real fraud mafia kind of style thing, like mafia boss. They have buffers and they have layers. That's how they stay safe from the law, right? It's a whisper system, or like a phone call system. I'm serious. It gets passed on down these filters of Reddit to a blog, to a book, to Amazon, to YouTube. And by the end of the day, these guys on YouTube that are searching, how do I get better with chicks? They have no idea where all this shit came from. It's a really complicated, multi-tiered system that protects them from being called out and being exposed.
Yeah, it is really sad how I see like a lot of Rollo's, let's call them lackeys, just kind of reiterating what he says verbatim. Like, I don't think you should even do that with my content. You should question everything. And like, if I say something that doesn't make sense, then you should call me out on that. You shouldn't just take everything.
Than that. He addresses this. He promotes openly. I'm for open debate. I'm for open debate. You know, the truth and the message. It's all bullshit. He's pandering to what these people want to hear, specifically to disarm people like you from calling him out.
Oh, okay. Interesting. I didn't know that.
I promoted open debate here and discussion. Bullshit.
So let me quickly address that, Rollo. If you really mean that I seriously, I'm not going to try to trick you. Come on this podcast and let's have a debate. Like, I will have him on any day of the week. I've actually reached out to him through friends in the past. We have a mutual friend, and he never accepted the invitation. So come on the podcast. We'll have a debate. I'm not going to try to trick you or fucking literally, like, you can defend some of these things. And you know,
the last debate he got into was with a clinical psychologist that he knows in real life, Sean T. Smith, on Richard.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
Yeah, that was. He got in a debate with Stefan Maloney too. Maloney took him to task. He was not going to tolerate the bullshit. Now, keep in mind, Rollo is like Donovan. He's a compulsive liar. He can't stop. So if you do debate with him, and I doubt he will, because he's scared of you, he's a pussy. In general, and specifically with men, among men, he's a bitch. When Socrates first met him, my buddy, one of the speakers, that's like the first thing he said. He's like, Rollo's a bitch. Just simple bitch. And that's true. He's like a bitch physically and psychologically in these things. But real debate requires honesty. And Rollo will never give that to you. And that's what happened with him and Sean Smith. Sean Smith is a clinical psychologist and he's scientific. He understands, reason and logic in these things, how to spot people who are going to lie to him. And it drives Rollo nuts. And Rollo can't be told no. He doesn't understand it. Just like with me and the Nelly Bowles thing. I told him no. The speakers told him no. He says, well, I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to do it covert, behind the scenes, under the table, and try to get away with it. If you ever debate him, and I doubt he'll ever debate you, but if he does,
that's really doubtful.
Bullshit to the max. And it's almost impossible to have a debate with someone who's a pathological liar like that, because you're dealing with someone who's fundamentally dishonest, and you just can't have a real debate like that. Honesty is a basic premise or requirement of a debate. If I'm just going to lie to you and you can't disprove it on the fly with evidence, it's just kind of fucked.
Right. Yeah. That would be an interesting one. Let's quickly address this, and we'll take questions at the end, but I want to take this one real quick. The answer to this. I don't.
His wife is older than him. I don't know how much older. It could be 1 year. It could be 5 years. I don't think it's more than 5, and it's not less than 1. She's older than him. And she was post-wall. He was like 30. She was 31 or 33 or something like that. I don't think that's that big of a deal.
That's not a big deal at all in of itself. It's only a big deal if your message is that you should only go for women younger than you, because it shows hypocrisy. For me, I've dated women older than me, but I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I've never said that. I said that. Yeah. It's more about
I actually agree with Rollo. So I don't disagree with everything Rollo says. I think men, especially for marriage purposes and building kids, like a family, you should date and marry a woman younger than you. I don't actually disagree with that. Now, Rollo says that, but then what did he do in real life? He did that. And he doesn't disclose that. He keeps that secret. He keeps all this crap secret to maintain the polish, this plastic veneer, this cheap garbage, or this fake history. He's really good at it. He's dedicated an enormous amount of time as a keyboard jockey to hide what his real life is like and the true nature of it. And he expands, maybe he banged 15 women in his 20s. That's been expanded to 43 or whatever, right? He had his rock star 20s, and then he had this and that, and just whatever. It's all every major thing about his personal life you read on his blog and his books is bullshit. It's been expanded, exaggerated, or it's just completely fabricated.
I severely doubt Rollo was ever banging a lot of women. I mean, based on everything I know about game and female dynamics, just watching the way he interacts with women does not show level of confidence and flirting skills that a real player would have. But anyway, let's. I think we've laid Rollo.
Go ahead. This real quick, then I'll shut up. So Rollo's a good liar, and the best liars don't tell you usually complete fabrications. That's dangerous. They always mix in an element of truth, and that's how he gets them. Like if you wanted to poison somebody with soup, Would you give him a bowl of poison like antifreeze, or would you give him this nice hot tomato soup or whatever with just enough poison to kill you? You would do the second. It's if you do it outright too much, it's not believable. Rollo is very good at weaving in lies into this fake truth, and guys buy it and they don't know any better. And how are they going to know? They're not close to them in real life. I've been shark fishing with Rollo multiple times, grouper fishing. He's been to my home several times. I've grilled Rollo fucking dinner on my own fucking barbecue grill in my backyard. Like, I know this guy in real life. He was my business partner for a while, right? Legally, I know this guy. These guys on the internet, they don't know George Miller, his real name. They know Rollo Tomassi, this little icon on Twitter. It's all bullshit. End rant.
Yeah, I highly encourage you guys, if you want to see more more facts and more in-depth information on this, check out Anthony's channel. He has like legit fucking hour-long videos where he gets into like the facts and all the proofs. So if you guys want to see that, definitely check out his content on Rollo. He's done several videos on this. So I guess you guys can kind of figure out by now who we think the number one fraud is in the Manosphere. So let's, I think we've kind of laid Rollo to rest. Let's move on past him. So who do you think are the other, in your opinion? Again, I didn't influence this list because I wanted to keep it from your perspective. I have my own opinions, but I don't think they're even that relevant for this conversation. Who do you think are the other big offenders?
Sure. So I'll list them out here. So number one, you're correct that Rollo is the number one. And that's both in terms of his own shit in and of itself, just him being this, scam artist, fraud father, but also in that he's the ringleader of these guys. He's the ringleader of about 8 or 9 other frauds. And there's layers to it, like a real mafia, right? The underbosses and how high up the ranks they are. And then at the bottom of this bukkake of fraud, you have guys like Myron Gaines who are new to it. They're young. They're kind of young kids, or they want to make a lot of money. When they get a lot of money, they're very excited because it's the first time in life they've ever had money. They don't really care. They don't have any ethics or moral backbones to what they do. They just do whatever they're told to sell, whatever they're going to sell. And then they pretend to be all these nice guys, right? Yeah, thanks to your super chat, man. We're going to help the red pill message, and we're going to kill feminism, blah, blah, blah. Thanks, man. We're going to help men. And it's all very, very believable. They pretend to be these guys' friends on YouTube and shit. Anyway, not to get too off topic. The big three, the number one is the fraud father, Rollo Tomasi. Number 2 and number 3 kind of equal are Donovan Sharpe and MLD, Jonathan Hogwood. Hogwood in particular is the most extreme weirdo and the extreme fraud in the community.
Oh my fucking God, yeah.
He's a child stalker. Now, the MGTOW guys call him a suspected pedo because he takes pictures of little children in public in Tokyo or in Japan.
And this has been proven. Like, this is, yeah. I believe me, I didn't even believe this when I first heard it. I'm like, nah, come on. They're just saying this shit, but like they actually have videos where they prove this shit, which is.
Now, there's even a video where he addresses the photos and claims that they're his. He actually addresses that. That was concerning to me because I was like, what if it's this advanced Photoshop?
Right.
Some elaborate hoax? Because this is crazy. Like stalking children in public and taking pictures of them without the
super bizarre, extremely bizarre to say the least. His excuse was no, but we were at Disneyland and there was a lot of kids around.
It's insane.
Like, why is that a valid excuse?
Yeah. So
you were at Disneyland, so it's okay to take pictures of little kids now.
As fucked up as the fraud father Rollo is, and as fucked up as Donovan is, neither of them are like suspected pedophiles. I don't believe Rollo is a child molester. I've never said that about him, and I never will. I don't believe that. He's not that kind of guy. He's a fucked up weirdo with a Jesus complex, to say the least. Some people think he's actually a psychopath, maybe. And Donovan is his own narcissistic NPD cluster B clusterfuck thing, but they're not like child stalkers. MLD is a child stalker. That's basically what he is. And he's probably on the road to being a child molester is where that's going to go. And it's real and it's dangerous. I have no idea what anyone is within 100 miles of that guy as a business figure now. It's insane. He has like no fans, no views. He's retarded. He's a child stalker. Like there's about 1,000 different reasons that guy is a ticking time bomb that's going to blow up in your face. And not
he's
even
a massive weirdo. I can tell his story firsthand. I had, and I told you this offline. I had a guy in my mastermind group, and he was like, he told me, yeah, initially I followed MLD, and he actually sold me a copy of your product. Like, first of all, like, why are you selling copies of my product? Like, okay, but that's shady. But okay, it gets worse than that. So he's like, but I actually found your website through that, and I really like your content. I want to buy your product for real. I'm like, okay, cool, man. No worries. Here's the link. So me and this guy actually wound up, connecting, and the stories he told me were highly disturbing. Apparently, MLD used to just hardcore abuse this guy, tell him that he was a loser. The reason he wasn't successful with women was because he was a loser in his past. And this guy had he's a cool guy, but he had a pretty traumatic past. And the most troubling thing was that my client, he was on, anti-anxiety medication, a lot of it. And if anyone who knows anything about anti-anxiety meds knows you can't just quit those cold turkey. What does MLD say? Oh, dude, don't be a pussy. Quit those cold turkey. If that guy had listened to him, he probably would have died. You can't quit high doses of Klonopin cold turkey. Yeah, it's so fucking dangerous to be giving people medical advice when you clearly know nothing about medicine at all. So
in some ways, I pity MLD, like I really do. I don't pity Rollo and Donovan. They're just scumbags. They're slime balls, scumbags. The fraud father is in particular, and Donovan's, a good underboss for him. But MLD is like the epitome of what happens to a child raised by a single mother who gets neglected and abused and is this fucked up shit show. He's 35 years old and he looks 15, and not in a good way. Like his balls never dropped, like he never hit puberty or something. He looks like he's like kind of retarded, to be honest, or something. And he's insane. Like to stalk children in public, you have to be so fucked up in the head. I don't even have words for it. Like it's no longer fraud. It's like perverted and weird and like maybe criminal. Like it's really weird.
He does other really bizarre shit. I don't think it's to the extent of stalking children, but like, first of all, he calls his channel Hot Dude Party, which is, I don't think I would want to be part of any movement called Hot Dude Party.
Extremely
gay. If you watch his live streams, he's in like a robe. Like he's almost reminds me of Buffalo Bill, like playing with his nipples. Like, would you fuck me? I'd fuck me. Like it's really bizarre. He actually got into an argument with me once on Offie's channel. Super bizarre. Like a viewer called in and said, or not called in, but he asked, like, hey, I'm having a hard time meeting women. What should I do? And MLD's response was, well, just better yourself as a man, and then all the problems take care of themselves. And I was like, no, they don't. Like hot women in your area don't have a app that says, oh, this guy's life is on track. I better go over his house and fuck him. And he got just like really defensive when I made that argument. Actually, everyone was arguing with me in that group chat in the stream.
MLD is just a loser with women. Like it's these guys that follow him are so beta they don't actually understand that. There's not a single hot girl in America that would fuck MLD. Like
no, that's why he lives in Japan.
Yeah, exactly. And if you
I don't think the Japanese women fuck him either. So
it's all
he's taking pictures of children.
Yeah, and he takes pictures of random stuff. Like it's insane, man. There's videos of him where women are mocking him that the MGTOW dudes found. These women film him and mock him because he's so fat and like he looks like a big kid, basically, like a big fat kid, but like a really mean bully fat kid. He's fucked up. I pity him, man. Like he probably belongs in jail, but I also pity him because it's just the outcome of what happens when a single mother neglects and abuses her child, and you have this fucked up kid without a dad. You get this fucked up weirdo who stalks children and rips men off and scams them and abuses them with medication and stuff. Like that dude is such a toxic shit show. It's hard to even wrap your head around it.
Yeah, that's
Rollo's much more clever and Donovan's much more dumb. But peak weirdo is MLD by a long shot.
I mean, for sure. And he calls himself the #1 dating coach on the planet by far. No one else even comes close.
He's the worst.
I don't even call. I think I'm way. I don't think I'm like some grand master, but I think I'm way better than this guy. I think anyone is. I think my fucking dog in the background is better than MLD.
It's inverse projection. Like,
but I would never say I'm the fucking best on the planet. Like, what fucking claim is that? By what metric are you the best? You're the worst on the planet, maybe.
What is the truth though? Like, what did you say here, right? Now I'm going to articulate it my way. He's probably the worst dating coach on the planet. That's the reality. Like the worst. Like that's how bad he is. There's no one worse. There's a lot of bad dudes I'm sure like him, but I think he's the worst. And the child stalking reflects that. Like how many bad dating coaches are there? Plenty, right? And even the bottom top 10 are really bad, I'm sure, like near him. Yeah. But none of them are probably stalking children. That's how much of a piece of shit and fucked up this guy is.
Yeah, that's super fucking bizarre to say the least.
It's inverse projection, just like Rollo. Rollo accuses everyone. I saw one of your guys in the chat mention it, of plagiarism. Rollo accuses everyone of plagiarism. He accuses all these YouTubers plagiarizing, Rational Male plagiarizing. It's bullshit. He says that because he's projecting what he does. He's always thinking about plagiarism because he plagiarizes constantly. He's really good at it too, and hiding it and concealing it, covering his ass. And really, he's the biggest plagiarist the Manosphere's ever seen. The biggest plagiarist keyboard jockey that, he's just really good at hiding it. And MLD is doing the same thing, the inverse projection. I'm the best dating coach in the world. No, he's the worst and the weirdest.
This reminds me of middle school. I had this friend who used to accuse everyone of having small dicks. And it turned out later we found out that he had a small dick. This reminds me of like some middle school strategy. I heard you have a small dick. Like, what? What are you basing that on?
It's interesting you mentioned that because, Rollo and MLD and Donovan, they're not men. They're little boys that just kind of LARP and role play these alpha red pill men, but really they're little boys. And what I mean, I don't just mean as an insult. I mean, psychologically, they're still children. That's why Rollo needs all this validation and control over his audience. These broken, wounded men that he preys on. Donovan is really similar. He's a little mama's boy, effeminate mama's boy. MLD is the most broken of all of them. He's psychologically like a little kid, but he's just super fucked up and super weird. That's what happens. You have a little boy who's fucked up and abused and neglected in an adult body. You have this weird configuration of insanity where you end up stalking children. And Rollo is this massive fraud, hypocrite, liar.
I love this comment. You can get better advice from the crackhead at the 7-Eleven. So let's touch on Donovan now. So what's the story there?
I just put out a 3-hour documentary on the truth about Donovan Sharpe. I mean, I don't know how much more I can say.
Just give like a 1-minute like overview of what's in that. I highly encourage everyone to watch that. I watched it; it was very entertaining.
Yep. Yeah, and, I say it's a documentary. It didn't start out as a documentary. It's supposed to be a much shorter exposure video, kind of like what Jamal does, right? 20, 30 minutes. It ended up being 3 hours long, and I had to cut it off at 3 hours because I'm like, this is getting nuts. Was it going to be a 4 or 5 hour documentary? Like, who the fuck's going to watch this, right? It's going to be longer than the Justice League shit, right? Like, Jesus. So it's 3 hours, and basically what I do in 3 hours is I number one cover my ass legally, and in terms of legal liability, YouTube liability, policy, and stuff, because I knew what I was doing was very serious, and it's going viral now. It's taken off. It's taken the Manosphere by storm. The Black Manosphere got involved now. It's a whole fucking issue. It's a whole fucking thing. This big thing. And thank God that dirt needed to be aired. He needed to be exposed for the massive fraud that he is. So after covering my ass, giving some background and context to why the video even exists in the first place, because like Rollo, there was a history there. So it's like, all right, let me address that number one. The remaining, 2 hours or 2/3 of the video are me dissecting surgically and tactically Donovan's entire fraud, the entire fake persona that he's built, that he's secretly married and denies it repeatedly. Not only doesn't own it and admits he's married, he denies it and doubles down and triples down that he's not married. He is married. He had a secret wedding in July 2019, which is why he had to miss our 21 convention in Poland that year. Whereas usually he would make every event, including the one that happened for the fathers just before that. He was a host at that. I got into it in spring 2019. He missed the summer event.
Yo, sorry, bro. Don't mean to interrupt you, but the audio is cutting out again. Can you guys let us know in the comments if it's just me or you can hear it? Can you say something?
Check.
Yeah, I think it's better now. Can't hear it. It sounds muffled. Yeah, people are saying. Say like something longer, like a sentence.
Check. 1, 2, check.
I think it's better now.
Maybe it's better now. I think if I get too close, it fucks it up. I'll try to.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. It's better now.
Fish tank. Jesus. Check.
Yeah. That was good.
Okay. So anyway, with Donovan, I basically dissect his entire life. I dissect the main kind of 4 or 5. Well, there's a lot of things. I dissect how he's been lying to millions of people, over 100,000 of his own fans on his channel. He's been lying about. He's building a secret family. He's legally adopted a child, him and or his wife. He has a secret wife. His wife is much older. He claims she's about 37. He claimed, for example, on his Instagram and on YouTube that it was her 37th birthday in the summer of 2020. It was not. It was her 44th birthday. This is a dude who goes on YouTube as a red pill podcaster, and he's bitching about women who lie about their age, and he lies about his wife's age. And he uses her to sell products and stuff. Her ass and her stuff is all over the place, right? He claims his results speak for themselves. And all kinds of shit like this. So he's been lying about his wife's age. His wife is like basically menopausal. She's like almost 45 years old now. And he claims she's some 9 or 10 stunner in her 30s, and that's not even close. She's older than him, right? Kind of like Rollo, but he's been lying about it. See, Rollo never lied about his wife's age. He just kind of didn't address it. He's been lying. Donovan's been lying, though, like crazy for years. He's been dating this girl forever, and now they got married about 2 years ago, and he keeps lying about her age, which is a big deal. She's also fat. I showed pictures of what she actually looks like, and he's very careful. And actually, I have more to reveal on that, but basically, they're in on it together. It's a scam. It's a scam that they both work. She's actually the business leader of it, the brains of the operation. She's like the puppet master of Donovan. Donovan's just the front man. I swear to God, Donovan's just the front man for this channel. She's the strings and manipulating all these dudes. It's crazy. Typically, a woman would just have an OnlyFans and take angles, maybe hotter than she is, makeup and shit. She uses Donovan to do that in a more Patreon manosphere kind of way. It's very interesting how it all works. It's very complicated, like Rollo. And it's all these layers of fraud and bullshit they put in public. But it's all bullshit. She's fat. She's like a 3. John Anthony called her a 3. MGTOW Dictionary called her a 3. And I called her a 3. She is a 3.
Yeah, she's definitely not attractive. I've seen the pictures. She's not attractive. Yeah. And again, I wanted to clarify. It's not, well, I mean, I personally would never marry an unattractive woman, but like, I'm not just going to attack random men I see on the street who are walking around with unattractive women. Like, let them do you. Like, you like that? That's up to you. I could care less. Same. The problem is when you're claiming to be a pimp and saying to guys, oh, I date a woman only younger than you. My wife's a 10, but your wife's older than you, and she's not that attractive. Like, again, like that's just like trickery. And I think the argument you made in your video was this is just the equivalent of like fraudulent marketing. Like if I'm selling supplements and I tell you that this supplement is going to raise your testosterone by 50%. And I'm basing that on a study I did where, dozens of men, took my supplement and their testosterone went up. However, then you find out that all these men were giving testosterone injections and the studies told bullshit, right? That makes you really dubious about my supplement, right? It's like the same kind of principle here. So I feel like, that needs to be called out. Again, I don't know Donovan personally at all. I bear him no ill will, but like this part is like pretty bizarre to say the least. Okay, so who do you think are the other big offenders? Oh, the audio, dude, bro, the audio completely cut off. So whatever you did last time. Yeah. Rollos lackeys are in the sound system. Can't hear anything, but you're muted right now. No, can't hear anything right now. Just bear with us, guys. Let's all observe a moment of silence for my sleepy dog. I still can't hear anything. Whatever you did the first time, or yeah, someone made the point, steroids fake natties. Yeah, exactly. Like if you're, I got this workout that's going to make you jack, but you find out that person's on steroids, that's going to make you really question the workout. So that's a pretty good argument. I heard the sound of you activating them, but then it went quiet again. I don't really know what is happening. Someone wrote, Alex, the dog is the main entertainment. He truly is. I'll quickly answer this question. Alex, who are good PUAs in the game now? I will say J Mulv. I personally really like Austin Summers. Jason James, although he's no longer doing coaching. We got, I think Coach Kyle's pretty good. There's a bunch of guys. Just look at the people I've interviewed. Not everyone who I've interviewed is a good PUA, but the people you see me having on consistently, usually those are going to be the good PUAs. I still can't hear, but it says you're muted right now.
Check.
Yeah, there we go.
All right. Does it sound good? Decent?
Yeah, it sounds good. Whatever you're doing, it's working, but I don't know what it is.
I just switched mics. I have like 10 of these mics. They're pretty good too. I don't know what the fuck. I never had a problem with them. Sorry about that, guys.
It's all good. All right, so let's get back into it. So the question was, who do you think are the other big offenders?
Yeah. So, and just to clarify too with Donovan, he's a massive fraud. I mean, he's way up there. Now the other ones though, there's other ones underneath him though, right? They're not as bad and they're lower down the food chain. It's really like a food chain. In school growing up, you had the food chain and the ecosystem and shit. There's like the top tier predators, like the fraud father, who's this parasite. You have some other top tier guys like MLD and Donovan who are big fraudsters in this. It's a whole fraud syndicate, really. Like we've been talking, I'm serious, man. It's dead serious. Like it's not as serious in that they're not killing people like real mafia and stuff or whatever, but it's this whole syndicate of sucking each other's dicks for money and ripping guys off knowingly and with intent. It's sick. It's twisted and sick and needs to end, and it will end. Now, other big ones though are Ryan Stone and Rich Cooper. Now, Rich Cooper, I'm not going to say he's like super fraud or anything like that, but he's basically ripping guys off. He's doing it knowingly. I think he's just kind of sociopathic about money. That's how I was able to basically play him. I knew that he wanted a lot of money, and I had money, so I paid him money and got him out of my life. And that fucked Rollo's whole plan up. I mean, basically, Rich Cooper, in a way, saved the day with the Manosphere and the Redman Group in 21 Convention. He actually did a huge service by, doubling down on his greed and accepting money, which really fucked up Rollo's plans. The minute Cooper accepted my offer for money, Rollo went into a tailspin. Oh, I didn't mean that. Oh, I didn't mean that. Like when somebody gets caught and it gets busted and they start freaking out, you can see Rollo just freaking out over email. There's actually emails where he's doing this, right? And Cooper just he didn't give a fuck anymore. Rollo roped him into some stupid shit. Cooper accepted money and was like, fuck it, let Rollo deal with Anthony. I don't want to deal with Anthony anymore. Because he realized I wasn't going to back down from these conflicts we were having. I was going to stand strong and fucking go for my values in my life and defend the work that I'd built at that point, the platforms. I mean, Ryan Stone and Rich Cooper are kind of big ones. They're not top 3, but they're top 5, I'd say.
Yeah, just to quickly comment on that, Ron Stone, I'm not familiar with at all, so I can't really comment on him either way. Rich Cooper, I'm not as familiar with. There's few things I know about him. Me and him have had some limited emails back and forth. And he was actually supposed to come on the PWF podcast. And he was probably the only person, I think, I could be wrong on this, but in the history to say they're going to come on and then not come on and like kind of flake. So, I kind of lost a little respect for him when he did that. I mean,
so you're saying Cooper, right?
Yeah, Cooper.
Yeah. So Cooper is less retarded than these other guys too. He's a lot more normal. Like you could sit down and have a beer with Cooper in real life. He's not an MLD weirdo. Cooper's not a child stalker or anything like that. He's a pussy. He's afraid of guns and this and that. He's been publicly talked about that. He's a huge pussy and he's a beta male. So Cooper, if you look at his timeline of his life, you might even know about this. He was married to the single mom or whatever, right? He's bitched about single moms. He's notorious for bitching about single moms. He had no game. The single mom ran his ass, then divorce raped his ass. Okay, that happens to a lot of guys.
Yeah.
Then suddenly he finds a rational male, and he's this megastar master pimp who's going to charge you $2,000 an hour for dating advice. Where was the hard work to develop this skill set where he's a super slayer with women enough to charge you an insane $2,000 an hour for essentially dating advice? As Lux Maximus, a YouTube channel, proved. He did a whole 90-minute kind of documentary on Rich Cooper and how this bullshit works, this little scam. It's nowhere near as clever or elaborate as what Rollo and Donovan and do and shit. But Cooper's just basically scamming guys out of money that he's not qualified to give this advice. Not even close.
Yeah, definitely not.
Cooper's probably banged 30 or 40 women, and he's charging guys $2,000 an hour to hear about his dating advice. And a lot of those are single moms. I've seen him in game in real life. He's horrible. He's terrible. He has no game. It's just like Rollo. It's all keyboard jockey shit. In fact, Cooper is like a Canadian parrot. He just parrots. A lot of these guys are parrots. So if you notice, they all what's consistent among them is they all suck Rollo's dick, the fraud father. He was like the Pope of this fraud thing, the Pope of polygamy. For real. And they all have to be in alignment with Rollo. If you watch all the episodes that they've ever done, right, all these podcasts that last hours and hours and hours and hours, you'll notice that they never, ever disagree with Rollo about anything important, ever.
Yeah, that's crazy.
He drops the fucking hammer on them. They have to be obedient to him like little bitches that they are. They're all little bitches, dude. They're all beta males. Cooper is this big, tall, alpha male looking dude, right? But it's all fake. He's a big beta male pussy. He'll never go on your channel, probably. It's why he pussed out, because he's a pussy. That's why. Actions over words, act and non verba. His tough talk and, be a man, do the work. It's all bullshit. It's bullshit to manipulate this YouTube audience and scam these guys out of money. That he's not, to give them advice he's not qualified to give, most of which he just recites out of the rational male. He'll read these guys' book chapters, like lines, for $2,000 an hour at a roll.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
Sick. It's sick, man. Yeah, it's sick. It's twisted, dude. Yep.
Yeah, that's crazy. I mean, another thing I heard about him was, I can't verify this because this video has been taken down, but he had one of his fans call in. It was like this Indian guy. And, I've been coaching for a while. Yeah, we get clients who are like really dorky, but, part of the reason, that's part of the job. Like, you have to deal with the dorks, and you can't you can maybe make fun of them a little bit, but you can't fucking go savage on them, right? Because they're looking to you for help.
Yeah.
Apparently he just fucking just shit on this guy for 20 minutes live on air, calling him a beta male and just giant loser and all that shit. That video apparently has been taken down since then. But that to me is okay, dude, how much of a fucking dick do you have to be? This guy looks up to you. Yeah, he may be a little dorky, but you have to show respect to your fans. But to me, that was also another thing.
Yeah. And Cooper pretends to be some super successful entrepreneurs in cars, which came off of that, what is it, Comedians in Cars or whatever?
Yeah, which
Yeah. So Cooper's never been super successful in business. He ran a debt consolidation business for years in Canada. It didn't do that well, and it ended up getting clobbered by banks. He got sued to oblivion and back, which is basically why he left it alone. If you watch actions over words, like we talk about with women in the Manosphere, right? Watch what they do, kind of ignore what they say. Cooper's most successful business in life has been scamming dudes out of money on YouTube. That's why he invests all of his money. If you actually listen to his advice where he's not bullshitting, he's all about money, 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 do the work, get the money. Where does he put all of his time, work, and energy? Into scamming dudes on YouTube out of money. Because he makes the most money he's ever made scamming dudes out of money. Not in some business he ran years ago. That's bullshit. We have another speaker, Richard Nicolai, who was a debt consolidation guy too in California. He was much bigger and more successful than Cooper, and he saw through Cooper's bullshit. He knows that Cooper's bullshitting about this to kind of create this historical credibility like Rollo does. These guys are all frauds and scammers, basically. It's all fucking con. It's based on elements of truth, but they expand it in ways that you can't verify unless you know them and get close to them. Cooper told me to my face how he got sued by these banks, and it scared the shit out of him. these billion-dollar banks, and they fucking ruined them and stuff with this debt consolidation business.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's all bullshit that he's some master entrepreneur. He's like kind of average, you know, like regular middle of the road dude. Certainly not someone you pay $2,000 an hour to. I'd pay him maybe $20 an hour, or something like that.
Anyone else? So we touched on a bunch. Anyone else that we need to go over?
Oh yeah, we're just getting started, bro. So Ryan Stone is again, he's not anywhere near the level of retard that MLD or Donovan or Rollo is, but he's a Rollo dick sucker. He's like an archbishop in the hypergamy church. Not really. He's high up the food chain with Rollo and a dick sucker of Rollo. His job is to kind of, you know, siphon off the married red pill community into the hypergamy cult and all this church crap that they do, hypergamy church. And Ryan Stone, for example, is married to, he had declared once or announced that he met his wife doing a bunch of cocaine or something. Like she was basically like a cokehead. That's what he called her, like a cokehead when he met her. And allegedly, I guess he cleaned her up into this good woman, but they have no kids. They're married for some unknown reason. Like, why did you marry this chick? And now John Anthony exposed what she looks like, but he posted those fake pictures anyway. Those pictures that John Anthony exposed of Ryan Stone's wife are not new. They've been publicly available on his website for years. That's where he puts them.
I would say she's on par with Donovan's wife, which is to say pretty low.
No, she's not as bad as Donovan's wife.
Donovan's
really?
Wife
fucking busted, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, Donovan's wife is a 3, maybe a 2 in reality. You know, like it's pretty bad. She's old. She's menopausal. She's just kind of ugly. Maybe 20 years ago she was decent looking, but that was like in the fucking 2001, like Jesus, like during the Bush administration. You know, the last time she looked decent was like 9/11. So we got a big problem here.
Right.
So Ryan Stone, his wife is fat. I mean, that's just what it is. She's average. I give her like a fat 5, maybe a 4. And as she gets older, she'll go down. She'll end up being a 3 in her 40s is where that's going. And Ryan Stone knows this, and that's the best he can do. Like we talked about in Redman Group the other day, the 3 of us. These dudes marry these chicks because that's the best they can do. The best. Right. That's what they settle for, the best. And they're basically fat women or old women or fat and old women. It's crazy. Like then they pretend. Now, if you're going to do that, like we talked about, God bless, right? You want to marry some fatty? Go for it. Go for it. Chubby chaser for life. Congratulations. I'm not going to shame you. I might make fun of you a little bit, but not too bad, right? If you want to marry this woman and have a family with her, do your thing, man. Whatever. It's a big world, a lot of women. You chose that. God bless. That's the best you can do. It's that they claim to be these red pill alpha male badasses and all they do is fuck fat women. Literally. They exclusively fuck fat women. And they're supposed to be red pill alpha males charging dudes money to be a badass woman and understand the red pill about women and the truth about women and get laid and all this, this bullshit. These dudes that can't get laid.
Yeah, the problem I'm seeing is a hypocrisy. Like you're doing basically the opposite of what you're saying. Like again, like I also have no problem with dudes banging whoever the fuck they want. You can go ahead and bang whatever. I don't give a shit who you bang as long as it's not children or animals. But if you are going to be claiming to be a coach and then you should not be marrying unattractive women. I would put it as the equivalent of if you want to pursue a life of playing music and art, that's fine. That's totally cool. It's your call. You're not interested in money, but then at the same time, don't be talking about entrepreneurship and hustling because you're not doing that, right? Like there's nothing wrong with that path. It's just the hypocrisy that to me is what stands out.
It's hypocrisy is the root issue. I agree. That's like the root thing that they're lying about it, and they're hypocrites, and they deceive their audiences, and they hide what their wives look like and this and that. They omit all these important facts that would be relevant to guys wanting to pay the money to learn about women. Like, what kind of results do you have with women? Well, with these guys like Donovan, he fucks fat women his whole life. Like I said in my documentary, I don't think he's ever fucked a hot girl in his life. That much is apparent by who he married. He married a 3. A guy who marries a 3 has never fucked a hot girl in his life. Because what did he fuck before her? 2, 1s, 2s, and 3s. Big old nasty woman. Ryan Stone's the same way. He married like a 5, I'd say. You could say she's a 4. I think she's like a 5 maybe for now, right? And that's going to downgrade over time. Ryan never got laid with hot chicks. That's why he married a middle-of-the-road basic bitch. This is the reality, right? They can be mean about it, or maybe she's a nice lady. I don't know. I never met Ryan's wife. But that's the truth about Ryan. And then he pretends to be this red pill alpha male badass. He's not supposed to be beta male. He's supposed to be an alpha male. The alpha males marry fat women? No. I mean, this is common sense. These are results. MLD is another one, right? He's just fucks no women, I think. I mean, this guy's like slightly retarded and a child stalker and stuff. Hot women don't fuck child stalkers, basically. Unless they're like in prison and they're about on death row and it's some weird kink shit. Like that just don't work like that, right?
Yeah, MLD is not getting laid.
MLD's probably going to get laid in prison when he's getting butt raped. That's where that's
I
going.
would put my money, if I had to bet money, I would put my money on MLD not banging chicks.
Oh, for sure. No, not a chance. No chance. Zero chance. But beyond that, let's get into more.
Yeah.
So we have Troy Francis is another guy that I think is kind of a scammer. He's part of that crew. I don't know as much about him, but I heard he's gay. I heard he's on yeah, or bi or something. Like he's on. I mean, if you look at him, he's always wearing like leopard shirts and stuff. He just looks gay. Number one. Yeah, number two, there's been screenshots sent to me of him on Grindr over in London. So I haven't verified these, but these guys are all weirdos. I mean,
and also just to mention, there's nothing wrong with being gay. It's just there's something wrong with being gay and pretending to be straight and teaching.
Dude, I'm not. Yeah, like dude, one of our speakers is gay, honestly, and I don't care because I think he's fucking awesome. I think he's a super intelligent guy with a lot of good ideas that he's going to share. I don't care that he's gay, but it's not a secret that he's gay, and he doesn't lie to people about it. He's just some dude. So I think Troy is hiding it to sell shit, and that's a problem. If he's gay, ends up being gay. It is what it is. But more than that, I think he's just kind of scum. He hangs out with other scum. Birds of a feather flock together. And I have no doubt this guy sucks with women, Troy Francis, if he even goes after women, which is at this point contestable, I think, but based on what I've heard and what I've seen. So he's another kind of scummy dude. He's nowhere near, he's not high up the food chain, but he's part of that obedient hypergamy ladder of being obedient to the fraud father. They all are. None of them will cross Rollo. None of them. I swear to God, watch any video they've ever been on. They will never challenge Rollo in anything important, if anything at all. Yeah, he absolutely runs these guys, these little beta male weirdos. Beyond that, we have the Myron Gaines, Fresh CEO, weirdos. These are new guys who are pretending to be like everybody's friend on YouTube. They're way at the bottom of the fraud hierarchy, the scammers. They don't know any better. They don't even care. They don't. They're just here to sell courses, basically. They're course grifters. So whatever they can do to sell stuff, these fake endorsements and like hyping all these guys up, it's all a scam. And a lot of guys can relate to them because a lot of guys they don't know any better. They're naive. Women, number one, they don't get any women basically, right? They just suck with women. But on top of that, women manipulate them and play them. These guys do the same thing. They prey on these dudes, these hurt, wounded men. And these beta males that don't get laid, that have a lay count of like 4, they don't know any better. This dude's claiming he bangs, down in Miami right near that he bangs all these women. It's all bullshit. This guy's a goofball and a loser. Like he bangs 3s and 4s, like he told John Anthony in those emails. I've met.
Yeah, I have mixed feelings about Fresh and Fit. I know Myron personally. He's not a bad guy. I wish I could say he was a dick or something, but he's not a bad guy. He's actually let me use his gym multiple times. Me and him have caught a few workouts together. This was way before Fresh and Fit was a thing. I don't know the other guy that well at all. I met him a few times. He seemed nice. Apparently, he hates me for some reason. Like God only knows why. He's never explained to me, even though I've asked him. But anyway, so in terms of their the channel. I would say that there are some things they say that I do think are, pretty entertaining and interesting, and some things that I hardcore disagree with. I do think that they made the mistake of just parroting a lot of things that are considered common knowledge in the red pill community, which are really not common knowledge, which are just wrong. So a lot of the stuff they take as facts is not true. And I could get into specifics on that, but that'll be a very long ass video.
That they're part of this hierarchy of the fraud father and stuff from Rollo. They're way at the bottom. They're not like super scammers like those other guys. They're not hardcore weirdos. I don't think that. I think Myron's a little off, to be honest. Like I met him in real life, and he just kind of struck me as like something wrong. I never met the other guy, but the point is that they're opportunists. That's what I'm saying. They're opportunists, and they have no backbone, no ethics, because they're not men. The little boy is LARPing as men on YouTube, and these other guys that are also beta males, they don't know any better. It's the blind leading the blind. They don't know anything. They bring these guys in their studios, like you're saying, and they parrot stuff. They don't know what else to do. They're going to parrot whatever plays the guy's emotional pain buttons. John Anthony talks about these sales pages that sell a product before anyone even sees the product. They do that by pushing emotional pain buttons. That's how these guys get super chats out of these men. Super chats, and they get them to sign up for their stuff. They find pain points, and then they parrot shit that pushes the pain point. Yeah. That sells guys that are hurt and wounded and are naive. They don't know anything about the world. They don't understand how women work. They don't understand how to be a man. They don't understand any of this crap. They're preying on all these wounded, hurt boys raised by single moms. They don't fucking know any better. It's sick. Now, they're at the bottom, though. They're not like super aggressive about it. I don't think Myron Gaines and Fresh Fit are like, I want to hurt men and scam them out of money.
I don't think so either.
They just don't give a fuck because they're at the bottom of the food chain. They can make money, commission, by promoting products that are full of shit. They don't fucking care. What matters is that it sells, not what's in it. It's garbage. It could be absolute garbage. And they probably know sometimes it is garbage. They just don't give a fuck. So they're more opportunistic, and they're new to the game too. They're excited. They're making money. And like I told you before the show, that Fresh and Fit thing is going to blow up eventually. They're going to split. Give it 6 months, give it a year, get a year and a half. They're going to have a feud. They're going to have a fight. And that whole thing's going to fall apart.
Yeah, that was interesting. Can you explain? Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? Let me just take a piss real quick because I'm gonna piss my pants. But yeah, just elaborate on that because that was very interesting.
Yeah. So for those of you watching, basically those guys are. Let me say this even more broadly: any kind of business, entrepreneurship, partnership. If you do research on it and blog posts and articles and stuff, business partnerships always blow up, almost always, exclusively, right? They can be a two-way partnership or a three-way partnership, like Redman Group, which was me, Rollo Tomasi, and Rich Cooper. Now they have a two-person split, as far as I understand it, for that podcast. I don't know the legal details of who owns this and that and what, but as far as it's presented, it seems to be kind of a tag team duo that they both are going to operate it and own it and share in what's going on with it. Now, as time goes on, there's going to be pressure, like in any business. There's going to be relationship pressure, financial pressure. There's going to be status that they both got growing. Basically, they're eventually going to cannibalize each other, and it's going to fall apart, and it's going to just blow up in their face. And there's almost no way out of that. That's why 99% of the time or 95% of the time, businesses that are based on shared ownership and don't have a clear leader with a clear vision and clear dominance for voting rights and for actually directing the company, it falls apart. They're going to play buddy-buddy for now, right? Just like on YouTube with these hurt men. They pretend to be your friend, right? And they pretend to be each other. They're maybe each other's friends in real life, but the pressure is going to rip them apart essentially over time. And this is true not just in the Manosphere, but for any podcast and business endeavor that goes on. It eventually blows up. London Real on YouTube is a big YouTube channel now. That too had a big explosion early on after the channel started blowing up. London Real, when it was maybe like 100,000 subscribers, now it's like 1 million or 2 million. There was a couple co-founders and they had a big fucking fight. And Brian Rose, the guy who owns it now, won out. That's what's going to happen in some way, shape, or form to that podcast of those guys. They're all excited. They're making all this money, blah, blah, blah. They don't fucking know shit.
Yeah, that's true. Very similar thing happened to Call Her Daddy podcast. It was these two chicks, and now it's just my namesake, Alex.
Yep.
Okay. Anyone else that we need to crack into?
Yeah, I think Tyler I used to be a huge fan of Tyler from RSD back in the day.
As well, actually.
Yeah, big fan, way back, especially. And I've met Papa. I've had lunch with these guys. I know these guys. We've had RSD speakers at the event, including Alex, the 4-Week Natural guy, Brad Branson, Wade Alters. Nathan was an RSD instructor back in the day. And Tim, Natural Tim back in the day, was a speaker. So I know a lot of these guys, but mostly I'm going after Tyler. And Tyler is just a goofball. I met him once briefly at PUA Summit back in 2010, I think, or 2009. I think 2010. And he struck me as weird and awkward right away. And I knew there was a lot of pressure and social pressure because all these dudes wanted to meet him. But even considering that, I was like, something just is off there. Like kind of like Rollo. When you meet Rollo in real life, it's off. That's like what Xavier noticed. Like he doesn't have social skills and doesn't walk tall and have confidence like a strong masculine man would who's good with women. You have a certain swagger. It's going to be different per man, but it's something like a baseline. Like, does this guy get laid or not? Look at John Anthony, right? John Anthony, even on YouTube, I'm like, this dude is assertive and aggressive. This guy gets laid. I mean, this is a baseline for being good with women in most instances. You have to be assertive at least, right? Or aggressive. You got to be like this alpha male. Something along those lines that's going to trigger a response in a woman to be aroused, to be attracted to you. They don't have that. Tyler has never had that, and I don't think he ever will. I don't know why exactly, to be honest. But this persona player is insane.
Yeah, it's funny you say that because my impression of him was exactly the same. I used to live like a few blocks away from him, but I met him once like on the street, like where he was outside of the whole speaker thing. He was weird as fuck. Like the vibe I got from him was like really socially awkward guy, and I was like confused by that because at this point I still thought of him as like this super suave, confident dude. But I was like, well, like this guy is awkward as shit.
And it's worse because you go on YouTube and there's hundreds of thousands of guys who would swear their mother's grave that he's a player, that Tyler is the best game in the world, and Owen Cook's a master pickup artist, and he helped me with my inner game, and I'm a fucking all this bullshit. Dude, RSD guys that follow Tyler are some of the worst guys on the planet picking up chicks.
Sure. I have seen that time and time again. They're overly gamey, overly cringe. They do weird shit that gets them blown out. Sometimes even gets them kicked out of the club. You can't really go up to a random girl and grab her and pull her in. And that shit can work if you have a really good vibe and you're confident and it's in the right environment, right setting. But most of the guys who are trying that, it's not going to work for them. Like they don't have the kind of vibe to pull that off in the first place. One thing I want to add was I recently had Alex, old RSD Alex Social on for a podcast. And for it was like 1 hour. And that whole 1 hour, I was trying to get him to like elaborate on some of the shit because he has a behind the scenes look at this whole thing. And he was kind of hinting at it, but but I couldn't get him to like fucking go there. And then, dude, it was really interesting. And like, I didn't want to push him too much because it was cool enough to come on my podcast. I'm not gonna like fucking grill him. But dude, it was funny because as soon as we were off air, he was like, "Yo, dude, like, there's so many stories I could have gone into and told you about how shitty this guy is." I was like, "Why the fuck didn't you, dude?" He's like, "I don't know, man. I didn't want to." But so it's like this weird thing where like Tyler like almost abuses these ex-coaches, but they never want to like get into it. I don't know. I can't explain it.
Like Rollo. It takes courage to speak up on these issues, and there's issues of legal liability, defamation, slander, libel, all these things. Even on this podcast, I'm trying to think and be thoughtful, careful in what I say. And I might push too far sometimes. I might not. I'm not that worried about it. But it's a thing. And if anyone wants to go to war with me, I'm happy to do that, including Donovan, who I challenged openly to sue me in federal court. Go for it. But I was very, very meticulous in how I covered him because I knew that he could try to do that if I was false or stating things that I knew to be wrong, and I did not. Everything I said in my 3-hour documentary is true, or true to the best of my knowledge, with good reason to believe it. So yeah, but these guys are just Tyler, man, that whole thing. Tyler is like Rollo, like this kind of cult leader, pseudo cult leader. But Tyler, it's more open. He's more in person about it. And he just leads all these beta males. It's like leading these beta male sheep off a cliff. That's what they both do. And it's sick, Yeah. Rollo talks about saving lives all the time, saving lives. I'm saving lives with the red pill and the rational male. If you notice, like no one else does that in the Manosphere. You'll hear it every once in a while, like some dude you pulled back from bring a suicide or something because he emailed you that and he claimed that you helped him.
Once in a blue moon that happens, yeah.
It happens, but sometimes that guy's just saying it for attention. Sometimes it's real. But you know what you don't see is coaches brag about it endlessly. No one brags about it like Rollo does. Rollo brags about it because he has a Jesus complex and a savior complex to save lives. But he's really not. What he does is he pulls these guys back that are usually out of toxic relationships with a BPD chick or some kind of nasty woman with a personality disorder, bipolar, whatever. They get fucked up by these women, right? The women get in their head and just fuck up their whole life, right? Fuck up their brain and fuck up their mind, really cause a lot of damage, divorce, rape, all kinds of shit, right? He takes those guys who are the bottom of the barrel, right? The bottom of the barrel. They're fucked up to the max by these women that get in their head and get in their life. Rollo then pulls them to a new hellscape, kind of he calls it the red pill. So it's like a new matrix. So you're in this blue pill normie land of being a dumb fuck with women that you're getting played. Rollo pulls you into this new fucking matrix of his own making and calls it the red pill. But it's not. It's the Rollo pill. Really is what it is. It's its own. That's why it's its own ecosystem. It's separate. What Rollo does with the red pill is different. It's distinct from the red pill community that he used to be a part of and still is in some ways. But it's very complicated how he does it. But yeah, it's a Trojan horse, basically, the red pill, how he describes it for the Rollo pill. The general red pill community has different beliefs than him, and there's disagreements, and it's not as cult-like. It's different. Rollo's version of it that hives off that is very distinct and very cult-like. I think it's culty, to put it lightly.
Okay, so we got through the RSD guys. Anyone else that we need to mention?
Endless Options maybe is one that you're familiar with.
Options, yeah. I made a whole video on that, but basically you got Jesse from Simple Pickup. Making content about online dating, saying that he spent $250,000 on testing the perfect bio. The perfect bio that he came up with, he revealed on one of his Instagram ads. I did a full review of that, but the perfect bio sucks balls. I think my dog could come up with a better bio than that, just at the dog park. So the content I get for free is, I think 100 times better than his perfect bio. But yeah, it's just to me, it's just like pure. I think there's a lot of marketers who get into the space and their whole goal is just to make money as fast as possible. They don't really care about ethics or giving you the truth. Like they just see this, pickup industry.
Irrelevant.
It's the same thing as the fitness industry. They don't give a shit about getting you jacked. They just want to make money selling whatever supplement they're selling. So I see Endless Options. That's the same thing.
With the issue of the Manosphere and the pickup community is that it's all about, a lot of it's rooted in sex, right? Pickup leads to, what do you want to get laid, basically, right? And even in the Manosphere more widely, if it's not pickup, it's relationships and marriage and whatnot. A lot of it, almost all of it basically is related in some way directly to sex. Sex is very taboo in a way that fitness is not. And you have you have zero certifications or licenses that are involved in the pickup community in the Manosphere, right? And I'm fine with that from a legal philosophy perspective, like a government perspective. I don't want the government involved in this crap. They'd make it 10 times worse than it already is. The issue with the pickup community and the Manosphere at large, it's like a fucking milkshake with frauds. It attracts all these wounded beta males, all these con artists to fraud them. So what I want to say is that basically we're going through this list of like 10 frauds, right? These top 10 frauds. But the bigger point and the most fundamental point is that this problem is systemic. These are the top 10, the biggest offenders. But it's been going on for years and decades even, since I'd say the early 2000s, maybe even the late 90s. when it really started getting more commercialized. The more money got involved, the more famous the pickup community got through books and TV shows and stuff. The more attention it got, the more it attracted a larger portion of men from the population, and also more frauds and con artists because they see opportunity. Sex sells. These dudes are thirsty. They suck with women. They're raised by single moms. They're not masculine. A lot of them are mama's boys and hurt. They want to become better. That's genuine. They want to become more masculine. They want to get better with tricks, right? I have no problem with that. Build a family, get laid 1,000 times, whatever you want to do. The point is that it attracts all this fraud and these scumbags, and there's very little pushback against it. And anyone who does, whether it's me or J-Mo or anyone else, you get screamed at by these bunch of beta males. They call it like, oh, it's feminine, it's drama. It's like, fuck you, man. This is conflict, and I'm addressing it openly as a man.
Anthony, the audio's got weird again.
Check.
Now it's good.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So anyway, the problem is systemic. It's fundamental. It's been going on for a long time. And by these dudes being exposed, basically we're dropping massive red pills in the community. Real red pills go down like broken glass. They're not fun, right? It's a dark truth. So a lot of the time it's dark. These guys look up to these men. They worship Rollo. They worship Donovan as these badasses. And really they're these goofy goofball losers that are absolutely terrible with women. They marry fat women, old women, and they lie about it. And they're just scumbags, A to Z, top to bottom, left to right. It's insane. The level of fraud is really massive. It's a mountain of fraud.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of guys in the comments were asking me, like, Alex, why are you because I don't do a lot of roast videos. It's not really my style. But a lot of guys are asking me, Alex, why are you, getting involved in this conflict? Yeah. Here's my reasoning. I feel like sometimes when something is so bad, if you don't say something, you're like almost part of the problem. And I just feel like if I'm just staying silent for the sake of being neutral and, appeasing everybody, I'm also contributing to the problem. So I feel like I have to. And this point, because I was introduced to you, I have this rare opportunity because you're in a unique position because you actually know these guys personally. I don't know a lot of these guys personally. So for me, it's just hearsay. But you actually have personal. I'm not a dating coach. You're not even, you're doing organizing events. So it's just like you have this unique opportunity to hear it from the inside source. So that's kind of what was my intention, with this live stream.
I can co-sign what you did, everything you just said. I really support you in doing that because, it's not useful to get involved needlessly with this stuff, right? This conflict, but there comes a point where it's a tipping point where it's so systemic and so massive. Someone's got to stand up and do something. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. So the community is nothing but frauds, like feminism.
Bro, the audio cut out again, unfortunately.
Better, good.
Yeah, now it's good. But yeah. I mean, that's the whole thing. I feel pretty bad because I told the guys that we're going to take a lot of questions, but we just went for almost 2 hours. Yep. So I think what we're going to have to do, and again, I feel a little bit bad, but I think what we're gonna have to do is at some point do a part 2 and just do straight up Q&A and just like answer people's questions. Because at this point, even if we do try to take questions, we're gonna be on here for like 4 hours, and that's just not practical. So yeah, guys, I'm sorry we didn't get to your question. Hopefully, you guys still found a lot of value out of this. Save your questions for the next one, and show us that you want to see a next one. Help this video get, let's say, 1,000 likes, and that will let us know that you guys want to see more of this content. And we'll make a part 2. We'll just do a straight up Q&A. So do you have any closing thoughts or anything you want to kind of end off on that we should mention?
Yeah, I was getting into earlier, but my audio cut out. Is it going right now?
Yeah, it's good now.
Yeah, so the biggest takeaway from all this is not even, it's fun and useful to go through the specifics, right? Talk trash on these guys or expose them for the truth, which is even more important, right? But in totality, they need to look at the big picture. We've been painting a picture by going through the specifics of what each guy is, who each guy is, what they're doing, how they're connected, all these details, right? But it's the painting that matters, the big picture. And that's really that the community is J-Mo say that it's dominated by frauds, and he's technically right. Most guys in the manosphere that have content are frauds in some way, shape, or form to a serious degree. Maybe they're not committing criminal fraud. I don't mean it that way, but they're scamming guys out of money, and they're doing it knowingly and willingly. They don't give a fuck. It's about getting the money. It's about the money.
Sure.
And one of the most effective ways to scam guys out of money is to tell them that you want to help them and you're there for the truth and the message and the red pill. And, all these women are trying to control you, manipulate you, and I'm going to help you and save you from that crap. It's all a con. It's an effective con that guys believe because they want to hear that. That's what they want to hear. So they get pandered to like politicians. A lot of these guys, like the Fraud Father, there's basically manosphere politicians. They're super scumbags. They do it knowingly, willingly, and with intent. And they're fucked up, and they have the Jesus complex and all kinds of, personality disorders and all kinds of serious shit. And it's sick. And the manosphere has to get better over time, not worse. And for a long time, it's been getting worse and worse and worse, especially as it grows and gets more media attention and more TV and stuff. And you attract money and you attract the potential to make a lot of money. You attract scum with that, as well as good guys who see an opportunity to build a legitimate business.
Right.
So it's very serious. And it's I'm really glad guys like you who are more of in the neutral, you see it, but it's so bad. You're like, I need to do something about this. You know, it's not, the conflict is so sick and so disturbing, the predatory nature of this stuff, that good men need to speak up and stand up and do something. If you see fraud and don't say fraud, you are a fraud. Nicholas Nathan.
The lies are so blatant sometimes. It's just like, oh my fucking God. Best pickup coach in the industry, probably the worst pickup coach in the industry. Like, I understand if you were pretty good and you're claiming to be the best, or you suck, but you're claiming to be decent, but like you're the worst and you're claiming to be the best. It's just like, I'm looking at this shit. I'm like, Jesus fucking Christ. There's no fact checking at all. Like, you can say anything I want. Like, what stops me from saying last night I had a threesome with the Kardashian sisters? Like, how are you going to fact check me on that, right? Like,
dude, Jamal was only fucked 1,300 women. I fucked 8,420. So he's just compared to
like, you can just make like any claim, and there's like no fact checking. There needs to be some level of fact checking. Like, okay, yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah, bro, thank you for coming on. I highly encourage guys to check out your channel. We're going to link everything in the description. So in his videos, he gets into more like the proof, and like, you know, the videos are pretty epic documentaries. So I highly encourage you guys to check that out. Check out John's channel, JMolf, John Anthony Lifestyle. He has also pretty solid roasts that I think are definitely worth mentioning. And yeah, let us know in the comments if you guys want to see a part 2. We can just do a Q&A. Throw this video some likes so it gets bumped in the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, guys, thank you for watching and subscribe. Until next time, bro. Good chatting.
Cool. Thanks, man.